which means we are good to go. There we go. And boom. Yay. Hello, Internet! It is a Friday. It is a little It's a little bit past 7 p.m., which means it's time to start Fanfiction Contempt Theater 9000. And I'm your host, SneakyDevil.
Maybe if we just dropped Contempt, people would be more receptive.
That is true. People probably would be more receptive to removing the word Contempt. However, the problem is I do have Contempt. I have Contempt. Even fictions I like, I still find issues with. What you mean? Nothing's perfect.
Yes. For the record, it still says we trees now, and we're still playing Total War.
What? Are you what the fuck? I was almost certain that Twitch was.
I can reload the page, but
I mean, it's telling me on my dashboard.
Okay. What? I don't understand why 2 seconds ago when I loaded the page, it said we were trees, and now it's fine.
Okay. Well, whatever.
It just makes no sense.
Anyway.
Gonna go ahead and blame Twitch.
I'm not going to enter into a fanfiction right away, because I do want to talk about what I've been doing in the meantime in between, with the whole posting on r/fanfiction.
Oh boy. Let's open this can of worms.
And it's not so much of a can of worms. Honestly, I think people... I am not the best orator, and we all know that. Atin's not the best orator, we all know that.
No, I'm not.
And I think people somewhat misunderstood, both my intention and what I was doing. Yes, am I offering unrequested comments? Yeah. You're posting your thing on the internet. You're posting it on a website for free, and part of the agreement of the website is that they cannot control who looks at it and what they do with it. Now, does that excuse what I do? Maybe.
It doesn't have to excuse what we do. We don't need an excuse.
No. People do look for excuses. But the thing is that I do this not just to laugh at people's fanfictions. Because if I wanted to do that, I could do that at any point in time. I do this
We could do that all on our own.
Yeah, I do this because people need to see this stuff. Because I was told by several different people, oh, these are aspiring writers, and you're depressing them by going after their works. And it's like, yes, on one hand, that is true. However, they are aspiring writers. People go to fanfiction.net for some reason, and look at other people's writing, and try to emulate them if they think it's good. And I don't think the bar of quality is ever going to get higher. It's only going to get lower if people just give others a pass for low-quality writing because they're new.
I was going to say, here's my look on it. They want to be aspiring writers.
Exactly.
Then...
And then I did have some people come after me going, oh, well, so it's just a hobby to some people. Okay, well, if it's just a hobby to some people, then shouldn't they take pride in their hobby?
I was going to say, there are lots of people who buy Warhammer miniatures, and they've literally never played a game of Warhammer in their lives.
Indeed.
But they take pride in having really kick-ass miniatures.
Alright,
because when they're well-painted, those things look amazing.
Yeah. No, I've seen some fantastic stuff for that. But, like, the thing is that I, personally, I realize I'm not exactly the standard bearer for normal thought process, but I personally believe that you should both, A, take pride in your work, and B, if you're going to put it out there, be ready for people to disagree with you on what is and isn't a good idea.
Well, especially because you are putting it up on a website called Fanfiction. The important thing, the important part that I'm emphasizing here is fan.
Yeah.
The other people who read these works of fiction are
fans.
going to be people that
on
some level
typically
enjoy that fandom.
Yeah, exactly. Typically take the fandom just as seriously as you do, if not more. The thing is, though, is that I'm not going like people would have an argument against me if I was going after, if I was searching the internet for someone's blog, random blog, and just insulting their work there, or someone's Tumblr page and insulting their work there, or, you know, scouring through forums and, you know, insulting people's works there. But I'm not. I'm going on
and we don't want to do that.
Dedicated for improving your writing and writing fan works. And someone's got to say something. If it's the fear of being insulted or the fear of I don't know what. Fear of letting someone down, I don't know. Whatever will make you raise your bar, whatever will make you look at your work and go, okay, I can do better. Because, as I've said before in other streams, if you look at your work and say, this is the best I can do, and I'm never going to get any better, then why are you bothering?
If it's because you think you're the best you're ever going to be, and you're comfortable sharing that work,
exactly,
fine.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, the thing is I've seen. It'd be one thing if they were putting out shit work and they were like, you know, I want people to come to me and I want constructive criticism. I want any sort of criticism. I have seen authors do that. I have seen authors go, okay, I realize this is bad work, and I want people to comment on it, and I want you to tell me what I'm doing wrong so I can get better. And I did that. And then they appreciated it, and they got better. I remember one story I was reading, it was a fucking mess. It was the train wreck of the most train wrecks, and now it's one of my most favorite fanfictions by one of my most favorite authors. Because he sat down and was like, okay, I have seen a lot of criticism, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to think about this, and a couple months later he came out, rewrote the entire damn story, went on to add another 500,000 words to it, and it was probably one of the best damn things I've ever fucking read. And that's because he sat down and accepted the criticism he was given, regardless of whether it was constructive or not. Like I always say, if someone's getting worked up about something, regardless of if they're just raging at you about how you characterize someone, they probably have a kernel of truth in whatever point.
Well, I was going to say, most criticisms will contain a kernel of truth, and part of being just good, part of getting better at anything, it doesn't matter, you know, what that thing may be, is being able to look at it and go, you know what? This person was absolutely right about blank. Whether it's my characters being out of character, or my fight scenes being boring and confusing, or my fight scenes being overly lengthy, or whatever. Whatever.
But that was the main point. People were saying, oh, I shouldn't offer constructive criticism. Oh, I shouldn't go after authors' works who haven't given me permission. I'm being too mean to people. Oh, you shouldn't be contemptuous of them. They're just starting authors. And one of the other things is people were saying that I'm not some sort of arbiter of truth and blah blah blah. I never made those sort of claims. I've never approached this as a
We've said it time and again. We've said it well before we did any of this.
Yes,
well before we got to this point where we're talking about the post we put up on a subreddit.
Yeah.
Well before this, we said
we're not experts.
We're not writers.
We've read.
We're not professional writers.
That is our experience. We've read a assload of books, and so we're able to look at stuff and go, okay, well, that doesn't exactly look right. And then we sometimes even do research live on the stream to show, oh yeah, it's in fact not correct. Where is to sound?
Or to show, hey, we are right, we're wrong.
Is sound not coming through?
Hold on.
Is sound not coming through? No, sound is coming through.
Yeah, I got sound. The problem's on your end there. Zexies, whatever. I can definitely hear audio from his stream.
Yeah, I can hear both of us just fine. Oh god, fuck it, that scared the shit out of you. Like, have we just been talking for the past 10 minutes and not a single fucking person has heard us?
Yeah. Ugh. That'd have been rough.
That would have been very rough. Anyway, but my point being is, you know, despite the manner I go about it, I honestly do want people to improve their writing. And, you know, I'm not saying I don't need improvement. I'm not saying this this podcast doesn't need improvement. I'm just saying this is what I know. This is what I can do. This is what I can offer, whether for good or bad.
And this is something that's been big for me. You know, I've gone back to stories that I read as a kid. And I've been able to go back and objectively look at them and go, wow, this really wasn't as good as I thought it was.
Yeah, yeah.
But, and this is one of the important things, just because someone criticizes a work doesn't mean they don't enjoy it. In fact, sometimes people can be harshest on the things they enjoy the most because they have
an investment, an emotional investment.
They have an investment. They care about it. You know, like for instance, for me, so this is just a little bit of a sidetrack, but so
no, it's fine.
You know, there's been this huge spate of young adult novels recently, and I know there's always a young adult novel out that people are really enjoying, but it seems like there's been a lot more of them recent. You know, first we had Mockingjay, and then we had Divergence, and I don't know.
Oh God, Mockingjay.
And I guess in you know, somewhere along the line we had Twilight, even though it technically wasn't young adult. I barely put it above a 5th grade reading level.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, it was the young adult book that captured my attention and was fun to read was the Ranger's Apprentice series.
Yeah.
And you know, having gone back at least for the first books, you know, the characters were pretty much all part of the Gary Stu trope. The two main characters. And now, around book 3, they did get a lot better. But, you know, it was kind of sobering to go back and look and say, wow, I had really bad tastes.
Yeah.
You know, now some of it, you go back and you look and you say, no, you know what? This holds up fantastically. Like, you know...
Like The Hobbit.
Yeah, I was going to say, you go back... I think the first time I read The Hobbit, it was 4th or 5th grade.
Something like that, yeah. Well, while Atin's being, fighting off the ninja assassins I've sent his way, I'll continue his thought process. Yeah, not... Basically, it all boils down to I want to raise the bar. I want people to raise their bar. I want people to get better, whether it is to spite me or whether it is because of me. I want people to improve themselves. I want people to not look and settle.
At the end of the day, if they try hard for whatever reason, if they've tried harder, we're happy.
Yeah.
If someone grows as a writer, that's fantastic.
And sometimes you do have to be harsh for people to actually sit back and realize, yeah, they did do it wrong.
Like, I have you know all about my brother Sneaky.
Yeah,
all about him.
I do.
But you know, this has been applied to myself too. He had some serious issues, and you know, my family and I, we all had to sit down and have a pretty frank, very harsh discussion with him to get him to change. Just like when I was being a complete and utter ass to my friends, they had to sit me down and tell me that I was being a complete dick, and that if I didn't knock it the fuck off.
Oh, looks like the ninjas succeeded. Damn, that means I have to pay them. But yeah, no, I definitely think that if someone had been telling me throughout my life what I've been doing wrong, instead of either ignoring me or just saying, "Oh, I'm doing fine. Oh, you'll do better next time," so I think my life would have changed quite significantly. I've never had the critic. Never had the critic, and I think I suffered for that. I think a majority of my generation has suffered for that. For not ever having a critic. No matter how harsh. So, anyway, enough with this mopey bullshit. I'm gonna move on to the actual thing that everyone is probably here for. Which is the next fanfiction we're covering today. This is targeted interference. Right, as always, I should probably make the statement. As always, do not message or otherwise contact the fanfiction authors featured in this podcast unless you wish to offer actual constructive criticism. We more or less do this for entertainment purposes and minor educational ones. Anyway, targeted interference. Jasmine Shepard joined the Alliance, but instead of following the path that would lead her to save the galaxy, she became a phantom. Working as an assassin for the Alliance's unofficial program, Jasmine encounters Thane Krios when they are both assigned the same target. Bested by the Drell assassin, Jasmine pushes herself to surpass Thane, but gets more than she bargained for. It doesn't actually have any tags to it, so I'm going to make a wild guess and say it's a romance story, but it could not be. Maybe it's a dark story, maybe it's a, adventure. Who knows? I do like it when people tag their stories, though, so I have some idea what I'm getting into. But other than that, the summary is actually not that bad. Definitely made me want to even pick it up in the first place to just look at it, which is for good reasons. That is actually good reasons. It wanted me to pick it up and look at it. You got to be careful when doing this kind of extreme-ish AU because you get lots of butterfly effects with a whole assassins program. It's a yes, Zeeks. That is that is true. It is rated M with a female protagonist, so though it is likely going to have the sexes involved. Actually, getting kind of worried. I think Atin actually died. Well, I'll be damned. I've been getting messages. Anyway, I guess I'll just have to change the stream to only me. And boop, boop. Alright, let's continue then. Prologue, 2172. Jasmine stopped on the corner and looked around the deserted street. The sun would be up soon and she needed to find a place to crash. She'd been up for 3 days, riding the high from the last of her red sand. I believe that would be capitalized as it is a drug name. But other than that, and it was the last. She promised herself that. Jasmine rarely made promises, but when she did, she kept them. She was definitely done with all that crap she'd been doing to get more. She pulled her shaking hands from the pockets of her beat-up leather jacket and shook a cigarette out of the pack. Jasmine looked around her again as she lit up the cigarette and leaned against the brick wall behind her. It's a bit of an awkward phrasing for looking around. I was saying more like Jasmine glanced around as she lit up the cigarette instead of just looked around, but A light came on in a window across the street. The sign above the door blinked on, and Jasmine saw the Systems Alliance insignia pop up on the screen. The insignia faded away to be replaced with the words, Systems Alliance, enlist today. 3 hots and a cot, right? Shit, I can get the same thing in jail for less bullshit in the process. Jasmine took a deep drag off her cigarette. I would think it would be off of her cigarette. Deep drag of her cigarette. Semantics, I suppose. Squinting her hazel eyes against the glow, she exhaled as she watched more lights come on in the Alliance building and caught sight of 3 men in uniform milling about the office. One of them stopped in the window and looked right at her. She didn't figure he could see her very well, but she got a good look at him. She guessed him to be in his early 40s, judging by the amount of gray mixed in with the brown. She couldn't see the finer lines around his eyes from across the street, but she could tell the sun had weathered his skin over the years. He stood like all Alliance stood. Like they have a stick up their ass. What is he trying out for the Alliance's poster boy? Why is he watching me? That's creepy. Movement from above caught Jasmine's attention as she turned her head to see a sky car coming in from the north. She knew that soon the area would be filled with sky cars as people made their way to sit in their tiny cubicles and feed their souls to the machine. She pushed away from the wall, the bricks tugging at the few strands from her long ponytail as she went, making her wince. She dug the heels of her boots across the pavement as she willed her tired legs onward, dismissing the sky car and the Alliance recruiting office from her mind. Jasmine focused her attention on finding a place to crash. That warehouse isn't far, just a few blocks. Better than nothing. Won't be anyone around and it'll be quiet. I'll be out of sight. Hey, baby, you need a ride somewhere? Jasmine's head jerked at the voice. She cursed herself for letting someone sneak up on her. The light blue sky car had dropped low enough to pull up beside her as she walked, and a hooded man leaned out of the passenger window, his features indistinct in the first rays of sunrise. No, I'm good. Thanks, Jasmine said. You sure? We can take you wherever you want to go, honey. He turned his head to look at the driver briefly. Or you could just ride with us. Let's see what you got going on under that jacket. Real slick, moron. I bet you think that hood makes you look mysterious. I said I'm good. Now fuck off, Jasmine said. Jasmine picked up the pace, hoping that the assholes in the sky car would get the point and leave her alone. Of course, she thought, when she heard the car stop and the doors open. She didn't run. Never run. They liked the chase too much. Instead, she braced herself for what she knew was coming. She could hear the rushed footsteps pounding the pavement behind her and tried to estimate how many of them there were. 2? 3? I can do 2 or 3. A hand grabbed her shoulder and tried to pull her back. Jasmine spun around and rammed her lit cigarette into Mr. Mysterious's face. He howled in pain and shock, the sound bringing his fellow would-be attackers short. Jasmine followed up by ramming her fist into his nose. Yeah, it's a place to crash. It is repetition of the phrasing, but I mean, honestly, at this point, it's minor things. I'm not experienced enough to offer a alternative solution to that, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, probably didn't need to reiterate it so much. I'm definitely not doing a monologue, I suppose. Okay. God damn it. "Bitch!" he yelled. The two others took that as their cue and moved in, trying to flank her. One of them looked about Jasmine's age, 17. This is how you introduce a character. You know, you don't just go, blank character is 17 years old with blank eyes and wearing blank clothes. You got to introduce the details slowly. You have to build the scene. This is how you properly build the scene. This is enjoyable. This is actually enjoyable to read aloud.
So, my invite crapped out, my internet crapped out on me. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, unfortunately.
Oh, eat a dick.
Let me just,
So, what did I miss?
An actually enjoyable so far read. They're properly setting up the scene. They're using other characters to describe how the character looks. Zeeks, actually the opening they're going with here, I believe, is the not the spacer one, not the colonist one, the one where you're a gang member. I believe there is a origin story for gang member on a city.
Really?
Yeah, there's spacer, there's colonist, and then there's gang member, I believe. So I believe they're doing a spin-off of that. Yeah. Yes. His acne-scarred face stood out against his close-cropped blonde hair. She guessed the other as being in his mid-20s.
Ah, yes. There is one. Earthborn. You were an orphan raised on the streets of the great megatropolises. You escaped the life of petty crime and underworld gangs by enlisting with the Alliance military. So there you go. That's the background.
I'm not that crazy. I know my lore.
Yeah, I just I never had bothered with that one.
Fair enough.
So yeah.
Anyway, it was hard to tell with his New York Yankees baseball cap casting shadows over his face in the dim light. Jasmine pulled her knife out of her pocket and flipped it open with practiced ease. She held it in front of her for them to see, hoping it would make them change their minds. She'd never actually used it on anyone before, but she damn sure would if they forced her hand. "Hey, what's going on over there?" The masculine voice carried to Jasmine's ears from down the street, but she didn't dare turn her head to see where it came from. "Grab the whore and get her in the car!" The Yankee moved in on her right and tried to make a grab for her arm, but she slashed the knife through the air, making him think twice. "Whore? I'm not a fucking whore." Mr. Mysterious recovered from the shock of his broken nose enough to charge at Jasmine. She held the knife out in front of her, but he kept moving. She stumbled as she retreated, feeling like a shuttle facing down a frigate. She watched in horror as he bent his knees and propelled forward, his feet leaving the concrete as he threw himself at her. Jasmine jumped to the side as he landed face first, cracking his forehead on the sidewalk. The Yankee grabbed her arms and pulled her backwards toward the car. She kicked and screamed, and when that didn't work, she dug her heels of her combat boots into the sidewalk. "Get the fuck off of me!" Jasmine remembered she still had the knife and swung her arm down, embedding it in the man's thigh before ripping it out again. "Let me go, you son of a bitch!" He tightened his grip on Jasmine's arm as he screamed and called her every name he could think of. Under different circumstances, Jasmine would have criticized him for his lack of creativity. The man slammed his head into the back of hers in retaliation. She saw stars and her body started to go slack.
Headbutting. Okay, this is just something that people should know in general. Headbutting another human being is a terrible idea. Unless you're putting your forehead on their nose, it is going to disorient both of you. That's just something that's always bothered me. Because, source, I have actually headbutted people, and by God, did I feel stupid the second I did it.
No, my head's always been pretty hard.
Okay, but have you ever rammed your forehead into somebody else's?
Yes.
And it didn't make you the least bit disoriented?
I mean, it stung.
Like, I'm not saying it won't, like, the other guy, because he's probably not expecting it, he's going to be worse off than you, but you should probably not do it in the first place.
Yeah, it is more of a, oh shit, what do I do, headbutt. Not a, I should initiate with headbutt.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
I don't want to be racist, but black guys have the thickest foreheads. Okay, Devil Spidey.
Alright, Devil Spidey, gonna have to ask you to knock that off. In a situation where you headbutt, you're probably out of other ideas. That may be so. That still does not make it a good idea.
That is typically true, though. That is typically true. Anyway. Do I hear gunfire in the background? Oh, is that a sprinkler?
I hear... The options are cicadas or cheerful children. So, not sure where you're getting the sound of gunfire.
I don't know what gunfire sounds like through a mic.
I mean, neither do I, but I don't think it sounds like a cicada.
Anyway. Let's see. He tightened his grip on Jasmine's arm as he screamed. Okay, but yeah, we already said that. Yeah. Let the girl go and turn around slowly. The world spun in Jasmine's head, making it sound like the voice came from all around her. Shit,
right,
he's got a gun, Jake. Let her go.
I gotta say, props to this random thug, because he's apparently concussed another human being with a headbutt, so good on him. He's got a sturdy head. You just gotta say, good for him, you know?
Indeed, good for him indeed.
He threw Jasmine to the ground. Yeah, well, so do I. Jasmine heard the sound of a gun being fired as she pushed herself up on her unscraped palms. Shoving loose locks of her long black hair out of her face, she looked up to see the Yankee drop to the ground. He landed on his chest a few feet away, his head turned up to the side. His eyes stared, open wide in shock. Jasmine didn't realize he was dead until she saw the blood start to trickle out of the little hole in his forehead. His baseball cap lay on the ground between the two of them. With it gone, she could see his face more clearly, and thought him closer to 30.
She looked up to see the man from the Alliance recruitment office window, holding Blondie at gunpoint. Jasmine could see a dark stain spreading down the front of the kid's pants. Mr. Mysterious started to move, and the man in the uniform pointed the gun at him instead. Jasmine heard the police sirens wailing in the distance. Stay down or I will shoot, the Alliance poster boy said. Oh shit, he's not gonna shoot me, is he? I was just defending myself. He saw that, right? I'm the victim here. Impressed, Mr. Mysterious was actually smart enough to listen to the order. She started to push herself up to sit on the sidewalk. She watched for any sign of alarm from the man with his finger on the trigger as she moved. She glanced at her knife. If she really had to, she thought she could get to it before he shot her. She turned her eyes back to Poster Boy, but he had his attention on Blondie. He ordered Blondie to lie on the ground and put his hands behind his head. You all right, ma'am? There should be a comma there before ma'am. I think, at least.
Yeah.
Poster Boy asked. Yeah, I'm fine. I just want to go, Jasmine said. I understand, ma'am. And I'm sorry, but I can't let you leave. The police are going to want to speak with you, he said. Damn it, Jasmine whispered. The sun's rays broke over the horizon, giving light to the gruesome scene around her. Blood smeared the tawny skin of her palms, and she thought she now had it on her face. Her dark blue jeans had new holes in both knees, and the soles of her already worn-through boots flapped loose. At least her jacket didn't look any worse. Her stomach twisted when she realized that the cuts on her palms barely bled. Most of the blood had come from Mr. Mysterious and the Yankee. She saw the red puddle growing around the dead man, inching its way toward her. Jasmine pushed herself up to her feet and held her palms out to the man with the gun. I just don't want any more of his blood on me. Do they use ma'am on 17-year-old? Yeah, police officers typically, police and military both use sir and ma'am. Usually regardless of age.
No, I would say, like, if someone's not obviously, like, 13 or younger, they'll use sir and ma'am.
Okay, yeah, if they're not obviously a kid, they'll use sir and ma'am, yeah.
Not really sure why, but that is just something they do.
I don't know, I think it's a point of respect or whatevs. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you were the security guard. Do you have any insight?
Damn, man, it was just what we were told to do. They didn't give us any reason. They said, here's your money, do these things, and I was like, alright, yes, sir.
There you go.
Christ, how old are you? He asked. 17, almost 18, Jasmine said. Now, this was one of those situations I would actually replace said with replied, but it's
that's a little thing.
Yeah.
This is overall very well written so far, and
like I said, even with the summary brought me in. I was like, okay, well, this either will go really well or really poorly. Now, obviously, this is just the first chapter, and I won't be able to really see how they deal with the butterfly effects of starting up a assassin's, what's the term? Branch of the military. But, I mean, certainly,
I mean, it's not necessarily difficult to deal with it. You could easily minimize butterfly effects by just saying that this is where Cerberus gets its start, since it's an off-the-books Alliance corporate division.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, like I said, like I said, it could either go really well or really poorly depending on how they handle it.
Yeah. Although so far this seems to be going great.
Yeah. Let's see. The police sky cars arrived and officers spilled out over the scene. Jasmine stood off to the side, wishing she could make herself as invisible as she felt most days. The cops slapped handcuffs on Blondie and Mr. Mysterious, pulling them to their feet by their wrists. Another officer bent down to check for the Yankee's pulse and shook his head when he found none. Now there's no one to stop the Reapers. Enjoy the romance that totally won't matter in a decade. I mean, I've actually seen some stories do that where, like, Shepard just went off the rails, and because Shepard went off the rails, the Reapers win. Stopped. Yeah. It was a great little twist at the end. Like, I saw it coming, but it was a great little twist at the end where they were like, "Oh yeah, no, they all fucking died because the Reapers ended up coming because Shepard wasn't there to stop them."
Turns out, John Shepard went off, spent a few years in the Alliance military, got happily married, retired, and then 20 years later, the Reapers killed everyone. Which is why Shepard isn't allowed to have happy endings.
Yep, Shepard gets no happy endings. Unless he pays for it with the new expansion pack DLC microtransaction.
The happy ending DLC. And no, it does not involve the consort.
I don't know, I hear she gives really good massages. An ambulance arrived, and the EMTs checked the body a second time, recording something on a datapad. Officers moved about, taking pictures of the scenes and setting out little yellow numbered triangles. When the EMTs finished, a female officer pointed them in Jasmine's direction. They followed her over and waited a few feet away while the female officer took pictures of Jasmine's injuries. The name tag on her uniform said Johnson. She swabbed the blood on Jasmine's palms and back of her jeans, sliding each swab into a little plastic vial and labeling it with something Jasmine couldn't read. She put the vials into a bag and marked it, before holding Jasmine's hands over an envelope and raking a plastic spatula under her nails. She closed the envelope and put that into its own bag. "Were you sexually assaulted, ma'am?" She didn't even make eye contact with Jasmine when she asked. She just kept her eyes on her datapad. "What? No, they just grabbed me. Tried to get me into the car." Jasmine ran her eyes over the scene once more. "I just want to go to sleep and forget this ever happened." "Alright, ma'am. One of the other officers will come by and take your statement." She nodded to the EMTs and she returned to her sky car. Crap.
Next time on L.A. Noire.
Yeah, indeed. Crap.
I think you're lying, Shepard.
Intrigue point spent. I think you're lying to me.
Now see that I think that'd be really fun. Your job is to be the council investigator for Shepard, and you have to get Shepard. You have to help Shepard prove the Reapers are real.
LA effect. Noir
Indeed.
effect. Who knows? I'm sure
Mass
it's out
noir?
there. I'm sure it's out there.
I'm sure. You know what? You know what? I say after we finish this refreshingly pleasant story, I say we go see if that crossover exists.
Alright. Crap, how long is this gonna take? Jasmine watched through the heavy lids as the EMTs cleaned and bandaged her hands. She hissed through clenched teeth as they prodded the tender lump on her head. They were gentle and spoke softly to her as they worked. They worked, but, you know, they. Explaining what they were doing at each step. They shined a light in her eyes and asked her to follow along with her eyes as one of them moved a finger back and forth in front of her face. They told her that they didn't believe her skull had been fractured, and she wasn't showing signs of a concussion, but that they could take her to the hospital if she wanted to be safe.
Alright, hold on. I want to interject here. She was dizzy earlier in the scene. Now she's really drowsy. Those are, in fact, signs of a concussion.
The last case requires you to interrogate the Reapers using visual cues.
Oh, yes.
It's a quick time event.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you look at, like, just Googling the signs of a concussion, memory problems, confusion, drowsiness or sluggishness, dizziness, double vision, blurred vision, headache, nausea, vomiting, sensitivity to light or noise, slowed reaction to stimuli, and balance problems. I'm just saying, she's displayed 2 of those symptoms after having someone forcefully impact her skull with theirs.
I mean, it's possible that they're going to use that later.
I mean, that might be. And if that's the case, then these are the worst fucking EMTs ever, and they need to be fired.
Oh yes, indeed, Devil Spidey. It's only $1.99 for to unlock the key questions that accelerate the interrogation process.
Well, you don't really have to pay for that, because no matter what, you still have to pick between the red question, the blue question, and the green question, and they all lead to the same ending.
But you can also unlock it using intrigue points, which you can gain by playing for 10 hours every day.
Although, I do have to admit, L.A. Noire would have been much more fun with a renegade system.
That it would have.
Because they're always talking about how you could, because that was in what, the L.A. Noire was in what, the 40s, the 50s?
Something like that, yeah.
Or no, it was after World War II, so it would have been like
the 40s and 50s.
Oh yeah, no, never mind. I am not crazy, but they're always talking about how just real casual, like, you know what? We can always go in there and beat a confession out of them. Let me do that. Let me do that. I want to take part in some police brutality.
L.A. Noire: How to Be a Serial Killer and Never Be Caught edition.
Yeah. And that's yet another piece of fan art that we'll need. Someday someone will come back and watch these. That'll be another piece of fan art we need.
Hmm.
Shepherd in like in just male Shep, femme Shep doesn't matter, or possibly both Shepherd. You can just have both Shepherds as partners.
There we go.
Interrogating one of the Reapers in LA Noir suits.
That needs to be created. Without a doubt, that needs to be created.
Why are you trying to destroy all life?
What are you hiding from us? Tell me the truth!
No one just tries to destroy all life in the universe. What are you hiding?
Anyway, let's keep going.
Indeed.
They sent information on what she should be alert for, and when she should seek medical attention to her Omnitool before leaving her alone. She shuffled in around nervously when the Alliance poster boy stepped away from one of the cops and walked over to her. Will the Reaper wear a skirt? See, the Reaper is just a distressed housewife, and she doesn't understand why you're giving her all these questions.
Despite the fact that she just took out a $100,000 life insurance policy on the Galaxy.
On the Galaxy. Indeed. They said I can take you inside until they're ready to talk to you. Come on, we'll get you cleaned up and get you some coffee or something, he said. What about my knife? Jasmine asked. They'll probably take it as evidence. I'm sorry, he said. Damn it. Jasmine rubbed the arm of her jacket across her forehead. Alright. Jasmine followed him, keeping her head low to avoid the sun. I'm okay. The other two men she'd seen earlier stood staring out the window after the commotion. The older of the two, with graying hair and a pinched expression, held the door open for them and saluted. I'm Service Chief Geoffrey Williams. What's your name, kid? Geoffrey asked.
If this is going the way I think it is, I approve.
What's the way you're thinking it's going?
I think that's Ashley's dad.
Maybe. I do believe that is a conditioning that has occurred with when it comes to fan fiction, is that any character with remotely a similar name to one of the characters, it's like, oh man, I bet they're related. I have seen...
Now, to be fair, though, that's not an unreasonable assumption to make in a fan fiction.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's been a conditioned thing.
Yeah, but you know, this is a Mass Effect story. It's Shepard. It's an Alliance recruiting office, and it's someone who's named Williams. I don't think I'm reaching too much there.
Yeah. Jasmine, she said. Nice name, pretty. Jasmine what? Geoffrey asked. Shepard, Jasmine said. Geoffrey nodded and turned to address the two men. Rutherford, show Miss Shepard here where the restroom is so she can wash up. Sanders, get Miss Shepard a cup of coffee. The two men saluted before going about following their orders. Right this way, ma'am. Rutherford, the same man who held the door open, now gestured toward the back of the office. Jasmine followed him down a hall and stepped inside the small bathroom. She locked the door behind her and used a damp paper towel to wash the blood from her face. She carefully felt the back of her head and heaved a sigh of relief when she found nothing more than a knot. Maybe the police will leave me alone after they take my the police will leave me alone after they take a statement. It was self-defense. Poster boy will tell them what he saw. Shit, my cigarettes.
I want to point out, this is just something, it's a little weird that the author's having her use a damp paper towel. Like, this is the Mass Effect universe, we are, what, hundreds of years into the future at this point?
I mean, this is city slicking, though, you know? We don't know, how much they're investing into, you know, whatever technologies are out there. You never know, mate. You never know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Jasmine spotted a lip above the doorframe and dug her cigarettes out of her pocket. She had to reach on her tiptoes to hide the pack and lighter, thinking she'd come back for them later. Jasmine opened the bathroom door and paused when she realized Rutherford had waited just outside. She gave the severe-looking man a wary look. He gestured back down the hall and Jasmine started walking. She glanced back to see him following her, the hairs rising on the back of her neck. She reached the main waiting area and saw Geoffrey sitting at a desk near the front door. A cup of steaming coffee sat in front of two other chairs on the other side. He waved her over, and she hesitated until she remembered the man behind her. Jasmine squared her shoulders and crossed the floor to stand in front of Geoffrey's desk. "How's your head?" he asked.
This is just something that's confusing me. It said she's almost 18. I don't know why she's hiding the cigarettes.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either, but it's possible that wherever the author lives, the smoking age is higher.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, it's not like they're gonna arrest her for having cigarettes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, worst case scenario, they'd be like, hey, you shouldn't have those. Confiscate. Which I can understand why you'd hide them in that case, but, like, she's almost 18. I don't think the cops would say anything.
Indeed. Let us keep going. What? Jasmine responded. Your head. Is it bleeding? Geoffrey asked. Oh, no, there's just a knot, she said. He nodded his head at the empty chairs. Have some coffee while you wait. Jasmine sat and stared at the cup. With the adrenaline wearing off, she felt even more sluggish than before. She balanced the cup with her fingertips, keeping the hot ceramic off her bandaged palms, and took a sip. A bell went off over the door as an officer walked inside. He looked around until he spotted Jasmine and made a beeline for her. Jasmine sat up straight and tried not to cower. I didn't do anything wrong. He's got no reason to take me in. None. Another cop entered and asked to speak to Geoffrey somewhere else. So he left the desk and took the officer to a side room. I am Officer Daryl Henry. I just need to ask you a few questions about what happened this morning. Get your side of the story. Do you mind if I sit with you? Daryl pointed to the chair next to Jasmine. She nodded her head and he pulled the chair out and turned it to face her before sitting down. Jasmine put the mug back on the desk and picked at the bandages with her hands in her lap. Maybe they won't ask about the burn. Last thing I need right now is another ticket. She showed him her ID when he asked and watched as he scanned it with his Omni tool. She chewed at her lip when her mugshots popped up on his screen. He confirmed that she didn't know the men prior to the altercation and asked which direction they came from. He didn't believe her when she said that she broke Mr. Mysterious's nose, asking her if it hadn't been Service Chief Williams who'd done it instead. Jasmine rolled her eyes and said she was sure. She told him everything she could remember about what the man said and did, as well as how she responded, skipping over the cigarette burn. Jasmine scratched her cheek when he asked about the burn. He kept his eyes steady on her, waiting out her silence. She let out a sigh and admitted that she shoved her lit cigarette in his face when he grabbed her. The officer looked at her, then back at her rap sheet and grunted. I guess he's got bigger things to worry about than slapping my wrist for smoking. I'll be 18 in 2 months anyway. She started to get uneasy when he asked her about the knife. I'm not in trouble for that, right? It's legal. I checked. She told him it belonged to her father, the only thing she had left from him. Besides his last name and the memory of him walking out on my mom. Mom killed herself a month later, and he was nowhere to be found until his name showed up in the obituaries a year later. See, this is how you introduce a character. You don't just dump it all in the first friggin' paragraph. You spread it out over the first chapter. This is what I've been saying for so long. This is precisely how you intro a character.
I was gonna say this is actually really good stuff, and I'm probably gonna put this on my list to read on my own time.
I mean, I'll probably queue up chapter 2 for Tuesday.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're definitely gonna come back to this on a Tuesday.
Let's see. The officer made a note and moved on, asking her where she had come from and where she was going. Cotton-eyed Joe. Jasmine didn't answer right away, and the officer looked up from his datapad. I was just out, Jasmine shrugged. Just out? Daryl repeated. Yeah, Jasmine nodded. Just out. He stared at her in silence, but she didn't offer him any further explanation. Miss Shepherd, it says here you're emancipated. Is there anyone you want us to call? Someone who can come get you? Daryl asked. There isn't anyone to call. I'll be alright, Jasmine said. I see. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to take your dad's knife into evidence. It will be released to you once the case is closed. I'll need a way to contact you in case I have any further questions, Daryl said. Jasmine gave him her extranet address, and he frowned. It's all I got, she said. Geoffrey and the other cop returned from the other room to stand in the middle of the office. Daryl excused himself and went to talk to his partner, while Geoffrey took a seat behind his desk. Jasmine stayed put, unsure whether she could leave yet or not. Probably just a trick gone bad. Johns got a little rough with her and she fought back. Daryl spoke in a hushed tone to his partner, but Jasmine heard it anyway. I'm not a whore. Jasmine stared daggers at the cop. Daryl turned towards her and raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? I said I'm not a goddamn whore. I wasn't doing anything wrong, I was just walking down the street and those creeps attacked me, Jasmine said. Ma'am, it's clear you're strung out. You're not the first junkie I've seen turn to prostitution to get their fix. We're not here to arrest you, so I suggest you settle down before you give us a reason to. The second officer smirked as he shook his head at Jasmine. Jasmine's eyes bulged. She opened her mouth, ready to tear him a new one when Geoffrey shoved his chair away from the desk and cleared his throat. She watched as he moved around the desk and stood in front of her, making himself a wall between Jasmine and the officers. Excuse me, officers, but I believe you both have our statements. I'm sure that you can contact either of us with further questions. You've made it clear you do not intend to arrest Miss Shepherd this morning, so I think I can take it from here. I'll make sure Miss Shepherd is returned home safely, Geoffrey said. Listen, Mr. Williams, Daryl said. Service Chief Williams, Geoffrey corrected. Service Chief Williams. With all due respect, sir, we've seen this kind of thing hundreds of times. The kid doesn't have a home. She's strung out on drugs, probably red sand, and Daryl said. Officers, with all due respect, your job here is done. Please don't make me place a call to Lieutenant Johnson. She really hates being disturbed this early in the morning, Geoffrey said. The smirk slowly dissolved off of the second officer's face as Daryl tucked his datapad away. Of course. Thank you for your time, sir. Geoffrey escorted the two men to the door and then turned to watch them out of the window as they returned to their patrol car and flew away. Other police sky cars remained down the block as they finished with the scene. Jasmine stood up on shaky legs, drawing the service chief's attention back to her. Thanks, she said. I should go. Wait, Miss Shepherd, let me give you a ride, Geoffrey said. No, really, it's all right. I'm not going far, Jasmine said. You look like you're about to pass out where you stand. Please, let me take you wherever you're going, Geoffrey said. Jasmine rubbed her hands up and down her arms and nodded her head. Can I use the bathroom again first? Of course. I'll meet you outside. Jasmine retrieved her cigarettes and left the Alliance office. A sky car waited for her just outside. The door already lifted open. Geoffrey waited for her to shut the door and buckle her seatbelt before he asked her where she wanted to go. She pointed in the direction of the warehouse and he took off. You can just let me out here, about a block away from About a block from the warehouse, Jasmine pointed down at the street. Are you sure? He looked around the area. I know it really isn't my business, but this is not a good neighborhood. No place I'm at is ever a good neighborhood. People like Officer Dickhead work real hard to keep people like me out of good neighborhoods. I don't have anywhere else to go. There's a place not too far from here where I can get some sleep. It'll be alright. Oh, I'll be alright, she said. Shit, why am I telling him this? Why'd I even let him drive me here? Come on, dude, just pull the car down and let me out.
Well, that was weird. Discord logged me out.
Oh, nice. The sky car hovered over the street as Geoffrey looked out the window. You know, we've got a guest room, and my wife could actually really use someone to help her out around the house. Right. What's the catch? Why would you do that? You don't know me. What if everything those cops said was right? Jasmine raised her eyebrow. Geoffrey slowly turned the sky car around. Jasmine didn't tell him to stop. Instead, she turned in her seat to stare at him. What do you want? If you were thinking you can get some easy action for saving me, you're sorely mistaken. I think they've got it wrong. I think they got you wrong. He glanced at her. I think that you've had it rough and maybe you need to get clean, but if you're willing to accept the help, we can get you there. My wife is a drug rehabilitation counselor. Ah, that's what this is. Service Chief Williams has a hero complex. Think you're gonna save me, Chief? Right, like I haven't heard that before. I don't need you to save me. I'll save my own damn self. If that's why you're doing this, then you don't need to worry about it. I'm done with Red Sand. I'm done with all of it. I've already made up my mind, and trust me, once my mind is made up, it doesn't change easily, she said. That's good then. You're headed in the right direction. It isn't easy. It'll be a rough ride, and you'll need someone to help get you through it. That's not why I'm doing this, though, he said. Then why? Jasmine watched him with narrowed eyes. Geoffrey took his time answering, his eyes on the traffic ahead. You didn't run. You stood your ground and you fought. I admire that. If I'd run, they'd only chase me. I know assholes like that. The chase is half of the fun for them, she said. That's a shame, he said. What? She asked. That you know assholes like that. So, should I turn the car back around, or will you accept the help I'm offering? Geoffrey glanced at her again. Would it really be so bad? A hot shower, a dry bed, maybe even real food. It's not like I have to stay. It's not like he's going to keep me around for more than a day or two anyway. If he gets handsy, I can always walk. Then again, he does carry a gun. And it sure as hell looked like he had no trouble hitting his target. Why is he even doing this? Damn, I'm tired. What does he really want? Shit, I can't even think straight right now. Screw it. Jasmine turned to look back out the window and bit her lip. Yeah, okay. It's gotta be better than a dirty warehouse floor. Jasmine spent the next 6 months living with the Williams family. Her 18th birthday came and went, but they still didn't tell her she had to leave. She endured the hell and got clean, just like she promised herself she would. The first few days were the worst as she suffered through withdrawal. She spent her days holed up in the guest bedroom, tossing and turning on sweat-soaked sheets. She thought it would have been less painful to set herself on fire, and she couldn't keep anything down. Not a minute went by that she didn't have to fight the voice in her head telling her to rob the Williams family blind and score some red sand, just to make the pain go away. She made it through, though, and she knew that Karen Williams was largely to thank. Jasmine thought the woman truly did have the patience of a saint. She sat at Jasmine's side through the worst of it and remained steadfast even when Jasmine fought against her. Jasmine couldn't bring herself to call the Williams family her family, even if their children had taken to calling her their new big sister. In fact, Jasmine did her best to keep her distance from the three girls, Jessica, Angela, and Samantha. She didn't want the girls to know about her past or who she had been, afraid that it would corrupt them. Jasmine felt good. For the first time in her life, she felt like she belonged somewhere. She felt like they wanted her there. She almost knew, though, that it couldn't last forever, and she needed to do something. She needed to get her own. She needed to get her on her own 2 feet, and a plan to get her life in order. Mr. Williams, Jasmine leaned against the door frame that led to Geoffrey's home office. Jasmine, when will you stop calling me that? Geoffrey asked. Sorry, sir, have you got a minute to talk? Jasmine asked. Sure, come on in, what's on your mind? He closed the lid on his laptop and spun his chair to face the small couch as she sat down. Your work. You do recruitment, right? Jasmine asked. Yes, for the time being. Why, what's up? He asked. Jasmine squared her shoulders and lifted her chin. I want to enlist. So, as far as fanfictions we've covered before, it was pretty damn good.
Yeah, this one's great. It's got a very interesting premise. I'll be interested to see where the author goes. The author clearly cares about this work, because they've got 32 chapters, although the word count is pretty low.
For 32 chapters, what do they got? That's it's about, what, 6K? Yeah, 6K chapter?
I mean, honestly, the only thing I'm disappointed about is that this thing only has as many follows as it does. It's about to get one more.
No, I mean, Zeke does bring up a very good point, though. It's a really weird case of a well put together first chapter that probably misses almost all of the target audience because it's too slow of a setup for most people, which is a fair enough point. A lot of people probably came here and were expecting to just jump straight into her assassinating someone.
That's true.
Now I don't know if, let's see. Okay, yeah. I have no idea what year. If that was the prologue, I don't know. We'll find out next week if they're gonna jump straight into, you know, her being a phantom now. If that was just the prologue in terms of this is her story. Now let's get into the action. But yeah, that is the one problem I would say for their story is their target audience kind of is expecting immediate action. But I believe that's more of a what's the term? Pavlovian ingrained thought, I guess, now at this point is so many Mass Effect
have accent.
Yeah, basically so many Mass Effect stories get right into Shepard being a badass and kicking ass that when you actually have a story that tries to be something more, you get, you know, people not reading it because of that.
Which is a shame, but as we've said before, you know, that is, you know, we've said this about the bad stories, and you know, it'll need to be said again about the good story. You know, it even needs to be said about a good story like this one. Part of the author's job is to get you to love the story immediately.
Yeah.
Like, that's the purpose of the first chapter. The first chapter is there to hook people. And while it certainly hooked us, that's not going to be true for that, you know, clearly isn't the case for other people. So
yeah. It's actually kind of shocking for being a pure Mass Effect story and only having 40 follows with almost 200k words, 32 chapter updates. That's actually quite shocking to me.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I was like, oh, that's actually shocking. I was hoping this would have more. You know, I personally am willing to give this my, hey, go read the first chapter seal of approval.
Yeah, the seal of approval, honestly.
Good grammar, well thought out plot.
Dialogue was excellent, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah, that was actually quite well done.
Everyone reacted. This is going to sound like a weird thing to say, but we've read some real bad stuff. Everyone reacted very humanly here.
AJ has a bit more on AO3. What do you mean by that? AJ has more on AO3. A bit more like that on AO3, you mean?
Alright. Anyway.
Oh, it's also posted on AO3 where it has more favorites. Okay.
Ah, good.
That's good to hear. Yeah, that is. I do believe that is a minor problem. On in terms of fan fiction in general, is there's so many websites to go that you do lose some of your audience because certain people only go into certain websites. But you know that is a good thing you should do. You should be posting it on multiple sites. It does get you more people looking at it, which gives you more opinions to work with.
And if you're writing it because you want people to see it, you know, it gets more people to see it.
All right. How do you feel about doing a Warcraft Naruto crossover?
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
Yeah, don't set your expectations high for this one.
I didn't plan on it.
Alright, let's see what we got here. We got Banshee and the Fox. Her people have been slain. She has been betrayed by the ones she called allies. She is left with nowhere to go. Sylvanas Windrunner is fleeing the horde commanded by Garrosh Hellscream and finds herself in the elemental nations, where she meets none other than Naruto Uzumaki. But with him comes a longing in her unbeating heart. Will she avenge her people, or find something more?
Alright, I've got several questions here. First, now the author may answer this. How's Sylvanas getting to the elemental nations? Because that's kind of, you know, a big problem.
I mean, most people do it in some sort of fanon-y way of, you know, be like, oh, you know, the elemental nations were actually surrounded by, like, you know, runes or whatever, and prevented people from seeing it or whatever. Or, you know, she could be summoned with a summoning seal. Like, there's so many ways that I've seen people manage this sort of thing, that it's pretty much up in the air when it comes to, Oh, 30k words in 4 years, but still updating. It's one of the weird ones. Yeah.
Oh, this is not a good sign. So I'm going to attempt a challenge from Hades45. Now, since I haven't played any Warcraft game in some time, and the only knowledge I have of Sylvanas Windrunner comes from a manga called the Sunwell Trilogy. So to rectify the problem, I had to do research into the chapter. I must say that from what I read... Oh, you know what? Never mind. I spoke too soon. I'm happy to say I spoke too soon. They did some research. Now, it still might be wrong, but, you know, assuming they actually did research like they said they did, they tried. Which, you know, let's be real. That's a hell of a lot more than we've seen from quite a few authors on this website.
Indeed. Alright, so let's get everything reset up again. Okay. And you're ready for this? Yeah, one little thing is Atin said, don't accept challenges unless you're passionate about what you're going to be doing the challenge of, because it's going to be hard for you, and it's going to show in your writing.
And this is not something aimed specifically at this author. This is a general statement.
Now, to be fair, if you are already quite good at writing and you want to expand your horizons, go for the challenges, but going for a challenge is definitely not something I would suggest for even first-time authors, or authors who are a bit shaky maybe on what their skill level might be.
Oh, absolutely.
It definitely will not assist you. You definitely have to have a good base before you start taking challenges.
Now, if it's a writing prompt, go for it, but challenges are a different beast.
Yeah, yeah. Especially the other thing is I've seen a lot is people think because they're good at writing short stories they'll be good at writing normal stories, which it
or
doesn't.
vice versa.
Yeah, it doesn't actually translate that well, honestly. And it's not just me saying this. I've seen other prolific short story writers saying this. I've seen other long story writers saying this. So you know.
Well, because it stands to reason, if you're really good at writing short stories and now you have to write a novel, a lot of your work is a lot of what you write is basically going to be fluff.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, well, I need to hit a specific length to be a novel, which, while that is technically true, that's not the point of a novel.
Let it happen naturally. You'll be surprised how many words a chapter can suddenly have if you just write.
The other thing I was going to say was
okay.
And if you're good at writing long stories and you try to suddenly go write a short story, well, your characters are probably going to come off as dull, flat, and uninteresting because you're used to having hundreds of pages to develop them, not 5 paragraphs.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, let's begin.
Yes.
Sylvanas Windrunner, once the proud Ranger General of Silver Moon, and in death the Queen of the Forsaken, was wandering in a giant forest, lost for the first time in her life. Her people had been slain by the current war chief of the Horde. Needs a comma there. Garrosh Hellscream, with her being the sole survivor, because he viewed them as abominations. Okay, this is an extremely long sentence.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm not really sure how you could actually break that up. I have a note that the author has nothing larger than 30k words, and it's almost all unfinished works. Yeah, I think that's the other thing, is that I've seen some people have problems with, is they start a story, and then they're like, oh, I had this idea for this other story, and then they start that, and then they keep spreading themselves out further and further until they just kind of burn themselves out trying to think of all of them.
Yeah.
But hey, for some people it works, for some people it doesn't. And you just gotta limit yourself at first, figure out what you're good at.
Normally I would say it's probably not working for this guy, but if it's been 4 years and they are still updating, maybe it's working for them. I don't know.
Maybe
but on
they
the other
have
hand,
life.
They only have 10 chapters.
Yeah, maybe they got life problems, but you know what? Let's keep going. From any okay. Even after they had served the Horde faithfully for years. After many years of wandering, she found herself on the opposite side of the world, on a continent she didn't even know the several millennia of... What? On a continent that didn't even... Sorry. On a continent that didn't even know the several millennia of strife that her people, both in life and death, had suffered. So she got on a boat and sailed...
I was going to say...
around the world?
The author is trying to very gently hand-wave this, but I'm sorry... That's you don't get to just. Unfortunately, this is too important a part of your story. This is not even a minimal attempt at an explanation. This is just
no. I have seen other stories go. Oh, the elemental countries were just on the opposite side of the world the whole time.
Okay,
the only problem I have with that though. Is Blizzard does make it quite clear that the world map is quite literally the world map, that the whole world has been mapped.
Yeah.
And that's why it was such a shock that Pandaria just appeared out of nowhere. Because they have in fact mapped the world.
It's like, we've been everywhere.
I mean, I guess you could pull that, like, oh, this is it was like a place like Pandaria, and that was hidden for all time. But like, even Pandaria knew what was going on in the world. And so then you get into that position of, okay, well, they don't know anything that's going on, and they're hidden away, and it's just like, okay, this is just starting to get, I guess too convenient, I guess you could say, as a hand wave.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I have seen good stories before, like the Bodyguard of Azula.
Well, here's the thing. We're not saying...
Yeah, I'm just saying...
This makes a bad story.
Yeah, it's a bad start, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bad initiation. To just start straight off with, oh, there was a continent they had never seen before.
And she just got there.
Yeah, she just happened to find it. Because I believe they discovered Pandaria because they were fighting. And then... Oh, what was it? They were fighting, and then all of a sudden they like crashed their ships, and then they washed up on that shore, and then they're like, "Holy shit, there's a continent here."
Yeah.
I think like I haven't played WoW in so long, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's keep going. She finally just sat down against a tall tree and closed her eyes, but she would not sleep, for the undead had no need for such a thing. That's when she heard it. The loud sound of voices baying for blood, the clatter of weapons, and the cries of a person as they tried to flee. Years later, when asked Sylvanas, you need to come there. Sylvanas would say she did not know what drew her to the sounds of battle, since that was the closest thing she could compare them to. I don't think placing the elemental nations on the same world works at all. There's no way in hell Ninja would stay uninvolved. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. The other thing is that the Fire Nation is a landlocked part of the elemental countries.
Yeah.
And they are also one of the places that has trees. Like, a lot of the other places, you know, Cloud isn't landlocked. They are on the coast. They're very mountainous. Earth is not landlocked. They are on the coast. It's very barren.
What do you say? It's Sandcastle Town.
Suna also has a coast, but it's a desert. The Land of Water is surprisingly not on the coast. They are in a sea. I do believe they did at one point own land on the coast, though, because they did have like a navy that could attack other people, because that's what happened to the Uzumakis.
The Ninja Navy.
Yeah, Ninja Navy. But you know, still, my point is that they picked the one elemental nation, the one elemental nation for her to land on. That was landlocked. So I'm not quite sure how she ended up lost in a forest if she had to walk into the forest through several hundred miles of non-forest land.
Also, now, granted, it has been a while. It has been a while, but the Sylvanas I know, the angry Sylvanas, that's, you know,
she is kind of pissed off,
post Warcraft 3, wouldn't just leave.
Yeah, she would kind of like swear vengeance upon Garrosh and do something really stupid.
She would go and try to just kill Garrosh. And even if she was like, you know what, this is a bad idea, she still might try it. And while I'm sure you could say, oh, well, she'd go to gather allies. Not really.
Particularly.
She's undead. She's undead. She's one of the Forsaken. She burned pretty much all of her bridges. And she knows that.
Not only that, like, a good example would be Wrath of the Lich King. When the whole betrayal arc happened in her city. And she had to go retake it. She was like, hey, fuck you all, I'm gonna retake it. And they're like, no, Sylvanas, this is bigger than you, you're gonna accept our help, and you're gonna like it. I mean, it worked out for her, because, yeah, she couldn't have taken it on her own, but she was gonna try anyway. So she's very much a stubborn, I don't fucking care about you kind of person.
I don't need your damn help.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, this is a bit of an AU Sylvanas, but, you know, whatever. We'll see where they go with it. When she arrived at the epicenter of the sounds, she saw a mob of full-grown humans holding every manner of weapons imaginable, from broken bottles to weird knives that were double-edged, and in a place of a hilt were wrapped with some kind of white cloth with a circle at the bottom. When she saw in the middle of the mob, shook her mutilated soul right down to its core. In the middle of the mob was a small 5-year-old child. A small 5-year-old human boy wearing a dirty white shirt with an orange spiral, patched up jeans and sandals, with the soles about to come off. That's when she saw the members of the mob take their strange knives and begin throwing them at the blonde, not hitting him, but using them to pin him to a wall right behind him. It was then Sylvanas knew what would happen next, since they had trapped their prey and would undoubtedly go in for the kill.
Alright, this is
She's seeing a child being tortured. That's what got her all shook.
She's done worse? Significantly worse?
She's done significantly worse.
She has been responsible for, and seen far worse.
What do you mean? Really?
I mean,
really as in Sylvanas has done worse, or really as in she's being shook by it? Okay. But, if you notice the creeping depression in my voice, it's, mostly because, well, this is such a cliched fan theory. Yeah. For some reason, the, Naruto fandom really enjoys having apparently the entire village try to murder him as a child. Because, for whatever reason, they really like writing Dark Naruto. Yeah, it's a very out of character Sylvanas. Very much disliked cliche in the fandom when it comes to what occurred when Naruto was a child. This is the same problem I've seen in the Harry Potter fandom. We've talked about this before, where just because the Dursleys were mean to Harry doesn't mean they fucking raped him. Just because people disliked Naruto didn't mean every year they got together to stab the shit out of him and spit on him. Like, guys, come on.
Come on.
Hold on, I'm gonna grab some more water and then we'll continue.
Yep.
Oh, shit, that's the last of my water.
What, they're running out of water in Florida?
Just a bit. Anyway. No! Was all Sylvanas said as the leather of her gloves creaked when she clenched clinched her fists.
Yeah, okay, look, I want to point out something about Sylvanas. In her wiki entry, there's a section entitled War Crimes. There's a section entitled War Crimes. But she shook about a little human boy. Here's the thing. If this was some little Forsaken boy, yes, Sylvanas would get involved. But this is a human boy. She's an elf from Quel'Thalas. So that already makes her pretty racist, to begin with.
That is true.
But now she's also one of the undead, and she died by Arthas. She really
this
doesn't
person
like people.
And this person said they did research on her. I put research. Yeah, I put research into this character. Clearly, they didn't put research into this character if they missed the whole war crime section on her Wikipedia.
Or the fact that she's super racist.
That too. You know, she actually has different dialogue options when you talk to her as a blood elf versus a
Oh, I'm sorry. No, these war crimes are about them judging Garrosh.
Okay. She still committed war crimes, though.
Oh yeah,
that's still a thing.
Including using the blight, whatever.
Yeah.
Against
blight
people,
bombs.
despite being told not to do that.
Yeah. And she did continue research that she was told to discontinue, and that's actually why the rebellion occurred. Because
let's not forget her deciding that Garrosh does need to die.
Yeah.
And then making a brand new poison to lace with his food.
Yes, that too. She also attacked the Worgen.
Mm-hmm.
What was the reason given behind that again?
I forget that one.
There was a reason, though. It was really a shitty reason that everyone was like, Sylvanas, fucking why? I think it was like they were resisting her rule or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever, yeah. It ended up making the Worgen and made everything worse. Thanks, Sylvanas. With that, she drew her bow that she had taken from one of the land's inhabitants and let loose with a volley of arrows that either permanently disabled or killed most of the mob. Once that was done, she tore the knives from the boy's clothes and gently cradled him in her lap. Now that she had gotten a closer look at the boy, she saw he had spiked blonde hair, slightly pale skin, 3 whisker-like marks adorning each cheek, frightened blue eyes, and from the holes in his shirt, she could see the outline of his bones. And that's not how you introduce a character. That's the opposite of how you introduce a character. I mean, at least they made the effort of not having the character being introduced by themselves. But, yeah, this is extremely out of character for old Sylvanas. Now, pre-undead Sylvanas, I could theoretically see her doing that.
Yeah.
But this is post Lich King Sylvanas. Like this is post Cataclysm Sylvanas. This is post. Oh, this was it. Warlords of Draenor. When did the conflict occur between the two of them? Post Pandaria. Was it Warlords of Draenor?
No, no, it's before Warlords.
Okay.
Because no, it's got to be before that because the trial for Garrosh comes. Oh no, maybe it is after that because Mists of Pandaria. Yeah, because there's Mists of Pandaria, then they try Garrosh for war crimes at the end of Pandaria, and that's the beginning of Draenor.
Yeah.
When he, like, goes
When he flees
back in
and goes
time.
back in time, yeah.
And then she gets made leader of the Horde in Legion.
Does she really?
Yeah, no. This is maybe one of my favorite things. Back in Orgrimmar, Vol'jin, on his deathbed, asked to see Sylvanas. He told her that he had never trusted her, but the spirits had given him clarity. With his dying breath, he told her that she would succeed him as war chief of the Horde. She accepted his will and rallied the Horde forces there, who swore an oath of allegiance to her. Now, war chief, she rules over the Horde from the Undercity. Forsaken's ruthless leader is a formidable champion of her people, but with the Burning Legion's invasion, the stakes of the Dark Lady have never been higher. Should she perish, her demise will be the beginning of her eternal damnation. All that will stand between her and this doom are her Valkyr, yet few of those spirit guardians remain. As her fate edges closer to the abyss, Sylvanas must decide how far she'll go to protect her people, and whether they're more precious to her than her soul. I don't know what any of that's about.
But,
When was she a boss fight?
what? She was a boss fight?
Battling the Dark Lady in the Royal Quarter can prove disastrous if certain steps are not taken by raid members?
Oh, maybe for people that invade the city? You know, the Alliance?
Oh, yeah. Yep, onto the Undercity through the sewer entrance, an obvious and well-used tactic since the start of World of Warcraft. Upon entering her chambers, raid members must hug the right wall as much as possible, as the Battle Masters and the Wintergrass Battle Mage will be pulled if the raid goes left. Battling them wastes valuable time, giving Horde players time to mount a defense.
Yep, okay. Anyway, and blah, blah, blah. Wait, when did she screech? Oh, yeah, I'm there. A loud, lungful of air, loud screech, and that made them hold their ears in pain, and then she killed them with her arrows. I don't know. Maybe that's how she initiates fights. She is a banshee, technically speaking, so, screeching is...
Or you say, she's a real amped up banshee, but a banshee.
Yeah. It's okay, child, Sylvanas said soothingly, gently stroking his hair with a gentle hand. You don't need to repeat gentle. It's,
okay,
kind
gentle and dead Sylvanas don't go together.
Now, 5-year-old Naruto, he was found his rescuer to be somewhat mind-boggling.
Wait. What is that?
What?
Now, to 5-year-old Naruto, he found his rescuer to be somewhat mind-boggling. I knew you had to be butchering. I was like, hold on, this has been relatively...
Oh, I forgot one word. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I was like, yeah, but it made it super...
Oh, yes, I know.
Butchered.
I had to go back and I was like, wait a second.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
While the premise may have been trash, this person's grammar, except for minor mistakes, has not been.
More or less. To the 5-year-old Naruto, is he conscious? I'm guessing that they're saying he's conscious, okay. Wait, wouldn't her screech also hurt him?
Yeah.
Maybe not the best of plans, then. She had deathly pale skin, yellow eyes that didn't have an iris, hair as pale as the moon, and long, pointy ears coming out of a dark maroon-colored hood.
That either permanently killed or disabled most of the mob. Oh my god.
Yeah. And that was attached to a cape of the same color. This is not how you introduce characters, but moving on. Or her screech does not hurt allies. I mean, it's magic, so maybe, but I'm pretty sure Banshee screeches only didn't hurt the undead.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Hold on, let me... I'm gonna have to go look up the Banshees from Warcraft 3.
Well, you do that. Um. do 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 do.
Oh boy, it's taking me back to classic BattleNet. Ooh.
10 out of 10. Naruto was able to get a good look at her clothes, which were all black with silver lines. Her top felt like leather, with the lines forming something like antlers on her chest, and it revealed her toned stomach, dark-looking thighs that covered her shoulders.
Why is
dark-looking
Naruto
things.
noted?
Sorry, things.
Okay.
I'm tired.
Okay, I was like, why is 5-year-old Naruto looking at her thighs?
I'm gonna go acquire caffeine.
Huh. No, they don't have a scream ability. That seems lacking on Blizzard's fault. But no scream. No scream. Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no, they had Curse, the anti-magic shell in possession.
Huh.
Anti-magic shell.
Yeah, anti-magic shell was a bitch. So can we say it's plausible that her screech didn't hurt him? I mean, yeah. Like I said, it's magic, so fucking who knows. But if the author says it didn't hurt him, it didn't hurt him.
The boy.
Indeed.
And to be fair, the screech itself was apparently not that debilitating because it just had the people going, "Ow, my ears."
Indeed, yes.
So even if it did affect him,
yeah.
Okay, but so now, this is a great frickin' first impression for her to make. She's just murdered a bunch of people.
There were a bunch of people that were torturing him, but yeah, probably not the best of impressions. Dark-looking things that covered her shoulders, that had a spike just below a row of skulls. And after that, all he saw was her black boots with silver lines that occasionally formed a leaf-like pattern. Normally, when old man Sarutobi would carry him to the hospital, he felt warm, which the old man explained was his natural body heat. However, this lady who just saved him felt cold as a winter's night. You were saying something?
No, I was just gonna say.
Right.
So Sarutobi's about to appear.
Probably.
No, like I'm saying,
okay.
He is. I'm not seeing anything. Not seeing anything about, killing a bunch of people.
Yeah, that typically doesn't leave the best first impression on a village leader.
Listen, no matter how annoyed Sarutobi may have been with the villagers for this, torture of Naruto that he's not done anything about, but apparently he just picks him up and carries him to the hospital. There's just a small issue here. She just murdered a very large number of the villagers. Because the exact quote here is permanently... Let's see. Where is it? Screeching that permanently disabled or killed most of the mob. Like, that permanently disabled or killed. So she's just shown up at his village, killed a bunch of people, and permanently crippled the rest of them. Now, even if none of them are ninjas, that is not something that he can tolerate.
She wailed, so she clearly thought she can use that ability, meaning she aimed to kill Naruto from the beginning. I mean, honestly, if we're gonna go from a Sylvanas point of view, a genuine, in-character Sylvanas point of view, I think she would kill the child, thinking that she's saving him from a life of suffering or something like that. I could see Sylvanas justifying that.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say, I could easily see the actual proper Sylvanas who was, willing to enslave guardian spirits because she thinks they're the future of her race.
Yeah.
willing to try and convince her sister to kill herself to join the Forsaken, willing to raise some guy from the dead, kidnap a girl, take her hostage, and tell her father, give me the town you're protecting, or your daughter becomes one of the Forsaken.
Yeah.
Because here's the important thing. At no point... now, maybe it's changed with Legion, but I doubt it. Because at no point during Warcraft 3 or any of the last, 6 expansions for WoW has she showed a hint of remorse.
Yeah, not very remorseful. I will say that. Not very remorseful, no.
And I mention that because that would indicate that maybe she thinks she's made a mistake or done something wrong. But she doesn't think that. She thinks she's right.
Yeah.
And she thinks everything she's doing is right.
Let's get into it. Now, it was at this point an old man, in red and white robes with a red and white triangular... You need some commas in there for that description. Wide-brimmed hat. I do believe wide-brimmed is hyphenated.
I think
it is.
Might be one of those weird things that it does.
It could be either way, yeah. And a small group of humans in gray. I think that's locality, but yeah. With black undershirts. I almost positive undershirts is hyphenated. And animal masks appeared. Also potentially hyphenated word. That's more semantical. It was at this moment that Sylvanas felt 2 pairs of eyes sending a glare in her direction, one from the old man and another from the man wearing the dog mask. "Ma'am," the old man said in a commanding voice, "I must ask you to step away from the boy." Sylvanas paid him no mind and just kept gently stroking the boy's hair as he yawned and snuggled a little closer to the strange woman. I'm a bit iffy about Sarutobi's depiction, but to each their own. Sarutobi and Dumbledore are both people that can be interpreted in multiple different ways.
Mm-hmm.
"Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to step away from the boy," the old man commanded one more time.
I don't think... As nice an old man as Sarutobi is, I don't think he would have waited this long. He would no longer be polite. He would be trying to murder her.
Literally, I believe the only times he's ever showed, hesitation when it comes to killing people and doing things is with Orochimaru, his student, and Danzo, his team partner.
I was gonna say, and even then, he got over the "I should be nice to Orochimaru" thing really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, he did eventually try to steal Orochimaru's soul in the pits of the Death God's stomach.
And partially succeeded.
So, I mean, yeah, it's sentimentality only carried him so far. So, yeah, definitely,
I'm just saying, he was like, you know what, I should try to talk Orochimaru down. And that changed, literally halfway through the fight.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's it.
Yeah.
So, if some crazy random woman just murdered a bunch of his villagers and then grabbed their trump card, essentially, he would no longer be standing there asking nicely.
Yeah,
especially because with his guards and him there, he wouldn't be going, "Oh, I have to be I can't attack because I might hurt Naruto." He knows that she can't kill Naruto.
I mean, he doesn't know that, but I would say this scene would be more believable if, like, the Anbu, like, had a blade at her throat and was like, I have to ask you to put down the boy.
Or
like,
if
then
or
I'd be like, okay, that's
if
more
they
believable.
were at least threatening her.
Yeah, not just like, hey, we're just gonna stand here intimidatingly and tell you to put the boy down. That's a bit less believable.
Yeah.
Sylvanas shushed quietly. He's sleeping.
No, she would not.
Anyway, sure enough, the old man heard Naruto letting out a gentle snoring sound as he slept. You really didn't need to include the last part. Just let out a gentle snoring sound. It's assumed that if you're snoring, you're probably sleeping.
Or you're being an asshole who's very poorly pretending to be asleep.
The scene is screwed up from the beginning because of how fast Sarutobi appears, meaning he knows Naruto was just beaten. That's a pretty good point, Zeeks.
No, to be fair, he could have been on his way because he knows Naruto is being beaten.
That's true too, but why would Sarutobi need to show up for that? Why not just his ninjas?
It's been said that, the author has implied that Sarutobi has carried Naruto to the hospital many times before. Maybe it's some of the...
good point.
Maybe it's some of the affection that, he can't really show Naruto, but he knows that he does need to show him anyway, and wants to. Or it could be that this is just a much more evil, more calculating Sarutobi, who's like, well, I'll let him get beat up, and I'll say, I'm sorry,
save
I can't
him.
stop them.
Yeah.
I can't stop them from beating you up, but I can always be on hand to pick up the pieces so you'll like me.
Yeah, no, I have seen people portray Sarutobi that way before.
Which, if that's the portrayal that they go for, I'm more accepting of letting the villagers, like, do terrible things to him instead of just being mean to him. Because if you don't have some kind of explanation like that...
I think this is definitely a fanfiction-only problem, in that when you're trying to set up the character right... This is specifically Dumbledore and Sarutobi I've seen. When they're trying to set up, like, oh, they're actually evil manipulators, I personally don't know a better way to do it, but it's just like you're setting up this scene where the kid's getting abused in some form or fashion, and then Dumbledore or Sarutobi swoops in and saves them. But during the scene and before that, your suspension of disbelief is being broken because you're like, okay, this wouldn't happen though, because you don't know Sarutobi is manipulating it yet, and at the same time, though, you don't want to just come out and say Sarutobi is manipulating it and then show the scene. It's like there's no real good way to do it.
Because, quite frankly, it's not how Sarutobi would act.
Well, not even that. Because this is fan fiction, and you can portray characters however you want, as long as you give a good reason as to why they're that way instead of this way. But I think, honestly, the best way to do that, then, wouldn't be to start off with the kid being having the shit kicked out of him. You should probably show an interaction between, for Harry Potter, show an interaction between McGonagall and Dumbledore, and maybe some internal monologue from Dumbledore to show that maybe he doesn't have Harry's best interests at heart. Or show Sarutobi looking down at the scene beforehand, and the ninjas
if they started the scene with Sarutobi up there, and one of the Anbu going, should we stop them? Should we step in?
Yeah, like, no, hold on, not yet.
No, not until they start actually hurting him. Not until they're about to hurt him. Not until he gets roughed up a little bit.
I mean, just show some sort of interaction beforehand to set the stage of, okay, yeah, maybe they're not the best people. Don't just jump straight into really bad thing happening that wouldn't happen in canon, and then be like, oh, he was manipulating it the whole time, because you're already losing people in that aspect. Because the people are like, okay, well, why is this happening? Meanwhile, if you had introduced him being manipulative beforehand, people would be like, oh, he's making this happen.
He's a dick.
Could show suspicious coming from a separate but trusted to the audience characters too. Exactly, yeah. You just introduce them in some other form or fashion that isn't immediately suspense breaking, so people have an idea of what might be going on. So they look at it and go, okay, something else is happening here. It's not just random people beating the shit out of Naruto. There's more going on here. And it actually also serves as a good hook as well. It brings people in. They want to keep reading, like, okay, what is going on here? They want to find out then.
Yeah.
So you can even turn bad plot points into a hook to keep people reading. It's all about how you go about the process.
Yeah.
Let's see. Growling as he wanted to take Naruto away from the strangely dressed pale-skinned woman, and at the same time he wanted Naruto to get some sleep. That's a really awkwardly worded sentence. I'm not...
Yeah, also really flimsy justification. I
want Naruto to sleep, but I also want him to be abused and love me.
Would they know about the zombie jutsu yet?
Considering he's a child, there's no real encounters of it. And I do believe what Sarutobi remembered of the Edo Tensei is the imperfect version, which showed like very physical deformity on the resurrected person.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, wouldn't he, just looking at Sylvanas because of her unnatural appearance, red eyes, pale skin,
No, physical deformities from the imperfect Edo Tensei would be like cracks in the skin and ash falling off of them. Not, they're really pale.
Alright. I mean,
and at this point in time, he really doesn't have any suspicion of Orochimaru yet either, though.
Yeah, that's true. He just thinks he's a guy who's gone off to be all angry and rebellious.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, Zeeks. A good thing to have would be an Anbu censor being like, oh hey, you know, she's not exactly all there. She's got some weird chakra readings or life force readings or whatever. Yeah, no, yeah. Definitely.
I mean, heck, you could have one of the you know, if you had one of the, oh my gosh, I can't think. One of the Hyuga clan there going, that is not right. That is not right.
And a chakra sensor or a Hyuga clan member in the Hokage's personal Anbu, I would buy that just fine. I mean, it makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Like a member, like, honestly, I'd be more surprised if they didn't, if he didn't have, you know, at most or all times, one or the other, either a Hyuga or a,
Honestly, I think this chapter, from what we've read so far, I think this chapter would have been better served to have been from an Anbu or Sarutobi's point of view to introduce the two of them and their situation. Yeah. It would have been a better stage setter in terms of not needing to immediately explain why Sylvanas is where she is and why. You could that would let you drag it out. It would let you describe the character, or let you build up her character. You know, like they're interrogating her or something, and you know she's giving out bits and pieces of information. You would be able to construct her character in whatever way you wanted then, by showing her interactions during the interrogation and what kind of history she's giving out and whatnot. Maybe she's manipulative in that she's telling lies to them, and you know as the reader that they're lies, or...
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially if you have it start out with, why are you here? You know, a bad person betrayed me and did mean things to me, and you know, and she's like, and I hadn't done anything wrong.
So hey man, Sylvanas didn't do nothing.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
ignoring that bucket of worms.
But yeah, no, honestly, it would have been better served to not have Sylvanas. Like, you could have switched, you know, in future chapters, like, you could have made this a prologue, and then in future chapters you could have switched to it being a Sylvanas point of view. But I just don't think starting the story off with a Sylvanas point of view would be the best way of approaching
Especially not when, quite frankly, your Sylvanas is very much out of character.
I mean, not only that, they're clearly setting up AU Naruto, and I think it'd be better because the story is taking place in the Naruto-verse. I think it'd be better off for them in terms of setting up the world to start off with Naruto characters describing the Naruto-verse and then switching to her point of view, instead of having her point of view describing an AU version of Naruto.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're about halfway through, so let's finish this up.
Yeah.
Gently getting... he growled to himself and looked at the woman, giving her the universal hand sign to follow me. Universal hand sign to follow me in some cultures is also an insult and also a challenge.
Universal hand sign to follow me can mean a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
You should be careful when you say things like that, author.
I instead of universal hand sign, I would be someone like waved her closer, waved her on, motion to follow him. Be careful when using absolute words like universal.
Yeah. Because, in pretty much every Western country, a thumbs up is a universal sign of, yeah, good job. It can mean very rude things in other cultures.
In Greece, giving someone the thumbs up means you want to have anal sex with them.
Is that verified?
Yeah! I had my tour guide tell me that. My Greek tour guide.
Oh boy.
He said, make sure you do not give someone a thumbs up when they ask you a question because you are sexually propositioning them for anal with that. And I was like, oh. Well then.
I need to be doing that more.
Because my mom was doing it, and I was like, Mother, stop! But yeah. If anything, Sylvanas could have joined Naruto, sensing the deep hatred for humanities and the Kyuubi nested in him. Yeah, she definitely could have. That definitely would have been more Sylvanas' style, I suppose. Sensing that sort of hatred inside him, and then trying to nurse it out to, use him as either a weapon against her people's killer, or,
I mean, here's the thing: if you had her, sense the hatred, I'm trying to figure out what the right way to phrase this is, but a much more in character Sylvanas would have been her, at least initially, starting out with her sensing great power in the boy and trying to manipulate him.
I think the main problem I'm having with this all is that Sylvanas is saving the boy for altruistic reasons, when we all know Sylvanas is very far from being altruistic. They could have had her save the boy for Lily any other reason, and I would have been more or less fine with it. Because there's a lot of justifications you can give for Sylvanas saving someone. But there's not that many justifications you can give for her doing it altruistically.
To put it frankly, the current version of Sylvanas, Sylvanas, leader of the Horde, Sylvanas, mistress of the Forsaken, is not a good or nice person.
Far from it, yeah.
It is so far beyond just being a not good person. She is remorselessly doing what she thinks is best for the Forsaken.
Yeah.
She cares nothing for
genocide is in fact on the table.
Because that means there's more of the Forsaken.
Yeah.
She's tried it in the past. And she didn't... You'll notice she didn't apologize for it.
Yeah, no, she, not very, remorseful. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's get this finished up. Gently getting up so as not to disturb the sleeping boy, and followed the old man and whatever she assumed was his elite guard. A little comment on the grammar here. When you're using commas, the and is inside the comma. Because the idea is when you're commentating things, you can remove the commentation, like everything inside the commas, from the sentence, and the sentence would still make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And
commas are there.
The commas are there to give more information or clarify something.
Yeah, I would say commas are supposed to be like a condiment for your sentence. It makes your sentence work better, but your sentence works fine if it doesn't have them. Like, you can eat a hot dog without ketchup and mustard. I do it all the time. But theoretically, those other things will make it a better tasting.
Yeah, theoretically. But, yeah. Also, Sylvanas, the very, very utilitarian Machiavellian person, knows she won't be attacked while she has this boy potentially in her threat range. And then proceeds to leave the boy while she's being threatened.
Don't think so.
I have a weird feeling of deja vu that Saratobi is the cop from the first fic.
Because I don't understand where the author got this, but for some reason they seem to be under the very poorly thought out notion that Sylvanas is a good person with a tortured soul.
I think this, honestly, this whole chapter so far just kind of reinforced the point we've made previously, in that you shouldn't write fanfiction about things you aren't a fan of,
or things that you are no longer familiar with,
because it's very clear that you don't know about Sylvanas, and you're going to be criticized by the people who know Sylvanas for not knowing Sylvanas.
Like, I haven't played WoW in quite some time.
4 years, yeah. They've been writing this for 4 years.
But, and see, like, that's the thing. If this person had started writing during Legion, full disclosure, I haven't played Legion. I know nothing about her actions during
4 years, that's
Legion.
2013. That's Wrath of Lich King. Sylvanas was actually in her hyper bitch phase in Wrath of Lich King, so that makes even less sense.
I mean, you say it wasn't just hyper bitch phase. It was genocide phase.
Yeah, she was kind of doing the genocides.
Quite literally trying to genocide.
Anyway. After following the old man for several minutes, she found herself standing outside a door that had previously been broken on more than one occasion, with numerous words scrolled across it in Basic. The most frequent and prominent of the words being Demon Filth and Kyubi Brat. It was the prime of Sylvanas, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Wrath of Lich King was kind of her prime in terms of power. Then things kind of fell apart.
But common, really? Now you're telling me that they all share a language, despite one being on the literal other side of the planet?
Yep, despite having no relationship to the humans that are in Kalimdor and Lordran. Yes, all the elemental countries speak human common.
Now, I might have been willing to buy that she could recognize some of it, or that it looked familiar.
Yeah, I could buy that, yeah.
But just being able to read it?
Yeah.
Unless she's been here far longer than the author's...
Yeah, unless she's been here.
Letting on, in which case the author should be telling us that.
Yeah. That is one thing we've talked about before, is two universes having different languages, or potentially different languages. The characters typically shouldn't be able to understand. But yeah, no, like, fucking hell, like, people from New Jersey have a hard time understanding people from goddamn New York, and they're freaking, they're touching states. So I would assume someone separated several thousands of years ago.
Long enough for them to completely forget about each other.
Yeah, I would assume they have quite a divergence in their language. And so even if the alphabet might be familiar, it would most definitely be used in a completely different fashion by this point in time. But, anyway, let's keep going. Just as the Banshee was about to ask, she felt the old man fix her... ask what? Also, comma. She felt the old man fix her with a glare. Fix her with a glare. I guess the better way to say that would be a fixer her with a glare. Fixing someone with a glare is slangy and doesn't exactly translate well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Affix though is an actual word and would apply better in this situation. That would have undoubtedly had Arthas trembling in his boots. I'm not quite sure she would have that sort of opinion, but feeling that it was wise, Sylvanas decided to keep her mouth shut.
I don't think she can even be afraid anymore.
Later.
I genuinely don't even think she can be afraid any longer.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either, no. I do remember something about her talking about in one of the instances that they released into the upcoming raid on the Lich King. Her encountering the Lich King in the instance with you, and like she was talking about how she's consumed by an all-consuming rage or whatever, and that she doesn't feel any other emotion but rage against Arthas now.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's keep going. Calmly following the old man to a worn-down mattress with springs sticking out of it, she gently laid the boy down, took off her cloak, and draped it over his body. Once that was done...
Why has his house suddenly gone from a relatively nice dwelling?
Yeah, yeah. His house was actually not touched. It was dirty. Because he was a bit, he's a kid and a bit of a mess.
He's a slob.
But his house, despite what Fanon wants you to believe, his house was relatively untouched by people who disliked him. But they're just setting up the scene, I suppose, that he's horribly abused, and the old man is somehow not a manipulative asshole for allowing this abuse to continue. Doing out.
Yeah.
I mean, because again, he is the military dictator of the village. If he goes, hey, string these people up in the main street and put a sign around their neck saying, don't touch Naruto or something, he can do that and no one can say shit against him.
In fact, they'll probably be like, you know what? Sarutobi has a reason for this. Because he's a beloved dictator.
I mean, not only that, it's a really bad idea to malalign what's the equivalent of a magical walking nuclear bomb. But, anyway.
That, as far as you know, if it gets a little too angry, will go off.
Yeah. Once that was done, she saw the boy curl into a tiny ball and pull the cloak tightly around him and smile in his sleep. Motioning his head to the door, Sylvanas, I believe that needs a comma there. Sylvanas quietly stepped outside of the small room and waited outside the door. Not even a few minutes later, the old man appeared and motioned for her to follow him. Once they made it down the hall, the old man turned and fixed her with a glare. Again with the fixing of the glare. They did use the better term in terms of tense to talk about fixing someone with the glare, but again the slang. would have unsettled any of the Dreadlords. Okay, now you're just getting a bit excessive with the levels of fear this glare induces.
Unsettled a Dreadlord?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a Dreadlord would laugh.
I'm pretty sure the last time a Dreadlord was afraid, it was Mal'Ganis, and that was when Arthas was literally murdering him.
Yeah, haha, you can't kill me. Oh, wait, shit, you are.
You can't kill me. Oh, yes, you can.
Why did you do it? The old man asked. Needs a question mark. Anger lacing his tone heavily. Because, I say it needs a question mark with why did you do it? Because if there's no question mark, then the T would not be capitalized. Because a comma would indicate a break in the dialogue, not a new sentence. Anger lacing his tone heavily. Who sent you? What? Was Sylvanas' response.
I'm sorry,
no
what?
apostrophe S, just an apostrophe because she does have an S already. Completely aghast that someone would question her motives. No, she wouldn't. She would be unsurprised. Completely. She would actually be more surprised that no one would question her motives than someone who does.
Yeah.
After all, she just saved an innocent child from being fatally injured or killed, and this old human would dare question her, the Dark Lady?
Yes. She's used to that. She's used to everyone questioning her, because she's a terrible, terrible, terrible person.
Yeah, and manipulative as hell. And she knows that, and so she's like, yeah, you better question me. I am going to take a guess.
I'll kill your entire family and make them me.
I'm going to take a guess that this author was at most 15 when this chapter was started. I mean, it's possible. It's certainly possible. Unfortunately, we really can't tell the ages of anyone. I mean, I've seen 30-year-olds who write fanfics that you would expect out of like I don't know, an 8th grader at best. And then I've seen 8th graders who write fanfics like they're a professional author. So I mean, you got a smattering of all ages and a smattering of all skill. Anyway. It was then her sensitive elf ears picked up on a sound that resembled the quiet shuffling of feet. Now, needs a comma there. Normally, she would attribute it to a drunk coming home and trying not to disturb his neighbors, or a child quietly trying to get a drink of water. However,
why would she attribute it to that?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why she would attribute that, because, you know, undead.
Well, I was gonna say, and even before that, Ranger General. Pretty sure the elves didn't have a whole lot of drunks there.
Yeah.
Just...
However, this was heading directly towards the room of the child she had just saved, using her quick reflexes, which came from years of training with the bow, sword, and knives. Sylvanas, I think that would actually be a semicolon right there instead of a comma. Sylvanas drew a knife from a sheath hidden by her gauntlets and tossed it at the source of the shuffling, impaling a thin person wearing a black shirt with red straps that would have revealed his midriff if it wasn't for his black undershirt, black calf-length pants, and black sandals, and a plain white face mask, much like the ones the old man's elite guard wore, with a stringed symbol on the front, which caused the old man to tighten his fists in anger. And how does she know that they're elite guards?
Just putting that out there.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, she's never made an indication of her acknowledgement of their skill. So yeah. Again, they're introducing another character by thoroughly describing them. She could have just said, you know, a black-clad assassin or something, and we would have been like wearing a blank mask, and we would have been like, oh, it's Root, you know.
Yeah.
Even if people wouldn't go, oh, it's Root, a black-clad assassin with a blank mask, and then the old man goes, oh, it's Root. They'll be like, oh, okay, you know, clearly there's a conflict here. You know, even if you didn't know who Root was, you could still tell from that. You don't need to describe what everyone's wearing when you get into combat with them.
Mm-hmm.
Root, The old man ground out before summoning one of his guard to his side. It would be guards, plural. Even though he's only summoning one of them.
I'm pretty sure they never leave his side.
Yeah, that too.
Like, in the literal sense, I don't think they ever leave his side.
Indeed. Torah, comma. And then there needs to be a comma there.
Oh, good. Wait, we're learning about the Jewish holy book.
Bring me Danzo Shimura. He wouldn't use his last name. Dead or alive, I don't care which. Okay, that's really fucking excessive. Holy shit. Like...
Well, Sarutobi's gone from having lots of compassion for his one squad mate to dead or alive.
These are some very out of character characters. Like, fucking hell, it's implied by reading the manga of Naruto. It's implied heavily that Danzo and Sarutobi constantly disagreed about Naruto entering Danzo's service. And so I'm not quite sure why he would be like, oh my god, Danzo tried to kidnap Naruto again! Kill him! Yeah, that's a bit of, extreme escalation. With little more than a nod, the old man called Torah. You really don't need to say the one the old man called. You just say, with a nod, Torah vanished in a swirl of leaves. And it's a bit of an excess, fluffiness. Of note, she attacked completely unknown person in foreign territory with throwing knives. Yes, this is also true. Made out of kryptonite. No, Devil Spidey, they're not made out of kryptonite. They're made out of platium.
They're made out of poritium. See, this is the kind of thing, like, I hope, to the people that are on the subreddit, like, I hope they come here and they see us, it's like, oh, hey, we found a story, and it was good, and we enjoyed it, and I don't think we're needlessly ragging on this author here.
No, like we said, this could have, this story had potential, they just went about writing the intro
in a very bad way.
Not even in a bad way, just in a fashion that would make most people not read it.
And then in addition to having out-of-character... And have we made jokes? Yes, but none of them have been aimed directly at the author.
Yeah, no,
in fact, I think we cracked more jokes during the good story.
Yeah, that's a distinct possibility. We try to avoid personal attacks at every opportunity. We go for their capabilities and their character.
We do certainly make them. And we're trying to get better about that.
I think the only personal attacks we've ever made against someone was that Brazilian guy who said, "Please excuse my poor English. I am Brazilian and learning English." But he said that for 7 years straight, and his English never improved.
And we're like, really? Come on, man. It's been 7 years.
But, I think that's the only time we've ever made a personal attack on someone.
I think it might be, but it's beside the point here. Our point being, we're not here to tell this person that everything they've got is bad. We're here to tell them, here's what you could have done better, boyo. Because you need some work.
Yeah. Wonder how the reviews are. Yeah, we'll check them out in a second. We're almost done.
Yeah.
With little more than a nod, blah, blah, blah. Once that was done, the old man went back to glaring at Sylvanas, this time with a begrudging sense of respect, before he turned and left with none of his questions satisfied. Still astonished I saw you find some good fictions. I mean, they're out there, it's just they're buried under a lot of mediocre ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in fact, when we go through these and we find the good ones, that makes our freaking day, man. We love going through and finding ones that are like, oh, this is really good, and it's relatively unknown. More people should read this. Seriously.
Just like the actual book market. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. I have to note this fic has way more faves than a legitimate good fic. Yes, that is actually something we do constantly say, and we are irritated by pretty often, is that fictions riddled with grammatical and spelling errors, with poor plot and poor character development, and just generally go about it really cringily, have like thousands of favorites and follows, and then this one really, really well-written fiction has 10.
Like, I was gonna say, compare the Mass Effect one we were just reading, which is, it's a good fic. It's a good fic, and it's well written. Compare that to now granted, this fic has been around significantly longer. It's been around for 4 years.
Yeah.
But
it's updated significantly less, though. That is the thing, though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But it still managed to garner 400 faves and almost 500 and 530 people following it.
I know you have to dig to find the good stuff. I mean, I have over 800 favorites. I mean, check out my profile page for Fanfiction.net. I have over 800 favorited stories. I've read about maybe 3 times that. I'm well aware you have to dig to find the good stuff.
Yeah. But, you know, people reading what is, quite frankly, pretty... an interesting idea that's fairly poor on the execution, with a lot of out-of-character stuff.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this could have been a fairly interesting story. It would have been quite an interesting read. Oh, I meant this Fimic mixed actual book market. You got to dig in both places. Yeah. We were talking about that earlier, actually, as well, with the whole young adult novel thing, and how there's been a glut of very meh stories. And which is why I like to try and raise the bar as whenever I can. You know, if everyone gets better, then overall everyone's gonna get better, and everyone sees everyone getting better.
When people get better,
when
you say when people write better fan fiction or better fiction, they're a better writer. So if that person goes and writes a book,
you get better books, and then yeah.
And if everybody, and so then people will read better books, and they'll have better inspiration.
By the way,
and so then theoretically the overall quality level will rise. Sneaky and not Max.
I've finished the chapter. I wanted to check dialogue heavy. Hey, you want to take a look at it some other point in time?
I'll be changing my name to Not Max.
Whatever you say, Not Max.
It's 1 letter more. 1 letter more.
Anyway. Alright, yeah, no, we'll check it out like next Friday or whatever. Maybe next Tuesday, since we would be returning to it.
Yes, but do we want to? I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
It was a read.
I was kidding.
Let's see, here we go. By the way, the old man said over his shoulder, the fire burning in his eyes, betraying his old age. I suggest you leave the village before daybreak, or I'll have my Anbu.
I'm sorry, what? The fire in his eyes, betraying his old age? It's very,
yeah, it's very awkward phrasing. I suggest you leave the village before daybreak.
Literally not how that works.
Or I will have my Anbu. Anbu should actually be fully capitalized. It is an abbreviation for something. Bring you in for questioning. With that, the old man disappeared in a swirl of fire, leaving the Banshee Queen in the hall with the old man's elite guard standing a quiet vigil over the boy. Sighing, Sylvanas Nizukama went back and sat on the bed next to the boy, gently stroking his hair as he slept. It was then she felt a stirring where her heart should have been.
No, she wouldn't. That literally can't happen. The only undead who has ever felt a stirring in their heart was Arthas, and that was for Jaina, and that was before he actually died.
Indeed. Devil Spidey says, merely because I'm using italics and normal dialogue all mixed together, I might have accidentally the room.
If you've accidentally the roomed, I'm gonna accidentally ban you from this chat.
Let's see what we got here. What is this feeling? Sylvanas thought to herself as she felt a warmness start to come from her breast. When the old man came the next morning to see if the strange woman was there, all he found of her was the dark maroon cloak, a piece of paper, and a pale golden ring with strange writing etched into it. It would be more onto it than into it. But that's just semantics. Opening the note, Sarutobi, needs to be a comma there. Sarutobi at first struggled to make out the writing, then as if a sudden understanding came over him, the words on the note became clear. Okay, so Deus Ex Machina, he can read her writing now. Tell the boy that the cloak and the ring are gifts from me, and that if he wishes to find me again, all he needs to do is stand at the top of the mountain with the faces of stone on a new moon. What?
What?
With regards, Sylvanas Windrunner, Queen of the Forsaken. Okay. That's, very Deus Ex Machina-y. Shaking his head, wondering what the Forsaken were, Sarutobi picked up the ring and pocketed it, reasoning that it would need to be studied for anything that could potentially harm Naruto or cause the bijou inside him to be released early. That's fair enough. He also took the note and was contemplating burning the note when Naruto began to stir and yawn tiredly, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Deus Ex introduction, nice. Sylvana enters hibernation mode. Will we see the Tomb Raider? Yes. There will be tombs that will be raided.
Please tell me that isn't a sexual pun. No? Nobody? Nobody? Alright, we're done here. My humor's wasted on you plebes. Anyway.
It was a sexual pun. Because, you know, Sylvanas is...
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Hey, OGG-san. I'm pretty sure you're saying that wrong. Naruto greeted the old man in his tired little voice, the cloak sliding down to his waist. Hey, Naruto, not capitalized. Sarutobi greeted, sitting on the bed next to Naruto. It was then he noticed
Also,
Naruto
I'm
looking
pretty
around
sure
like he
Sarutobi
was
would
searching
never
for something.
say, "Hey, Naruto."
Yeah. I shall not call you Not Max anymore.
Hey,
Atin got
I
where I was
appreciate
going
that.
with this. Hey, I got where you were going with this. What about me?
He already calls you by name. Fuck off.
What are you looking for? The strange lady from last night, Naruto answered, clutching the cloak tightly. I wanted to thank her and return this. Sarutobi looked at his young lord with a grim look crossing his features, debating on how to tell the boy that his savior had left. Okay, whoa, you ran her out. That wasn't her leaving. You said, hey bitch, get the fuck out my village or I'm gonna gank you.
Yeah.
You can't be like, oh, I don't know how to tell him she's left. Fuck, that's not how that works.
Oh, she left. Like, if we had something in here about him saying he didn't know how to tell her that he ran her out of the village, that'd be fine.
Yeah. Oh, she left. Yeah, she left. She left, in air quotes.
She left because I said, get out my village or I'll kill you.
Looking dejected, Naruto held the cloak like a lifeline, seeing as it was the only connection he had to his rescuer for the time being. Sighing at the display, Sarutobi didn't have the heart to try and tell Naruto to give him the cloak, and just got up and left to go to his office.
Why would he try to take the cloak anyway?
Oh boy, we're setting up for some betrayal of, oh my god, I can't believe you lied to me about Sylvanas, Sarutobi, I hate you! I'm calling that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll probably revisit this on Tuesday then, just to see if I was right about that. Or we might not. It depends.
I would much rather not.
Alright.
Also, I followed that Mass Effect story, and the author sent me a PM thanking me.
What, following it?
Yeah.
Well, considering he's been working on it quite hard. And he's only got, like, what, 40 people following and favoriting him? Yeah, no, yeah. He's still in that stage where he can very much, thank every single person that follow and faves. He or she, I suppose, but, you know, I was default to he, because on the internet, everyone's a guy.
Listen, he's a guy, she's a guy, they're a guy, that horse is a guy, the donkey's a guy, and that neckbeard over in the corner saying he's a 14-year-old girl is definitely a guy.
What? How did the joke go back in the day? The 30-year-old guy is a guy. The female teen is a 30-year-old guy, and the kid is an FBI agent.
It was the 30-year-old guy is actually a 30-year-old guy. The 14-year-old girl is also a 30-year-old guy. And the child is actually an FBI agent.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's a guy until the genitalia is checked.
Or you can say, but you're forgetting about the people who are so fucking fat you can't even do that anymore.
Oh god, please cease. I don't want those mental images. If Danzo Shimura could show emotion right now, his face would show how livid he was at being woken up in the middle of the night and forced to sit in the office that should all right be his. Wow, this is a really, really out of character portrayal of Danzo.
I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Danzo perfectly content running the Black Ops?
Sort of. He was always of the opinion he should be running it, but as long as Sarutobi is running it, he shall be Sarutobi's shadow and the root of the village.
That's right, that's right. I mean, that's what I meant, I'm like, Sarutobi's still in charge, so he's like, Sarutobi's probably going to do fine.
Like, we disagree, but I shall be his shadow. Yeah.
Because I trust Sarutobi.
And also, that's how he was raised. He was raised to be subservient to the Sarutobi clan.
Yeah.
That old fool Sarutobi. No, that is in character. Danzo thought in the final minutes till Sarutobi would finally arrive. He doesn't realize how weak he is by making this village. He is making this village. A ninja's emotions is what makes them weak. They will make them soft and merciful, and if he had let me train the Jinchuriki, I could have turned him into a mighty weapon. But no, the senile old fool had to be sentimental.
Alright, that's not...
That is of the opinion he holds, but it's being portrayed very unfairly. Jesus Christ, I just cut my wrist on that edge.
Oh, wow, look who's here.
Fucking nose hair. Lord of Nose Hair has been banned for 600 seconds.
Having these powers are wonderful for messing with your friends.
Indeed.
I was gonna say, I think that's the only time I've actually used the mod functionality to troll nose hair.
Sarutobi PogChamp.
You're bad. Look back at the chat,
Anyway. Why, yes, Hokage-sama, Danzo stated, feeling the sweat starting to pour off him. To the best of my knowledge, it was. Oh, I
To
believe
the best of my knowledge, it was. I'm pretty sure Sarutobi's not gonna buy that.
Really, Sarutobi growled, then explained to me why a ninja wearing the root uniform was found last night on the way to Naruto's room. Danzo's so you're missing the parenthesis, yes. Danzo's only reaction was to gulp inaudibly. I mean, you really don't have to mention inaudibly. And most people can't hear you gulping, so it's implied it's typically inaudible, unless you're saying the gulp was audible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you state that a gulp is audible. You don't have to, like... It's by default assumed that they don't hear it.
Anyway. The glare that Sarutobi was giving him had him seeing the Shinigami standing behind the old man. Thought so, Sarutobi said angrily. Danzo Shimura, you have defied the express command of your Hokage. This qualifies as an act of treason and is punishable by death. Do you have any last words? Wow.
Sarutobi
fucking Jesus Christ, this escalation.
Like, why is it that hundreds of kidnapping attempts before didn't earn him the death penalty?
God fucking damn it.
Oh my god.
Damn it, Noah's hair, you have corrupted this chat!
What did he do?
He was talking about ninja semen.
Wait, can we stack the timeouts?
I don't know. Probably not.
I think we can.
I think we can. Jesus Christ, stop. You, Sarutobi, have weakened this village by letting the ninja retain their emotions. And if it weren't for the Nindaime Hokage, I would have led this village to greatness it was destined for. Also, your soft heart shall prove your undoing, for you should have given me the Kyuubi Jinchuriki to make him into a weapon. That was the last words Danzo said because his edge was too mighty and it killed him. Because during his little tirade, Sarutobi summoned Enma in his staff form and impaled the Warhawk through his chest. Through the chest. Okay. Jesus fucking... Jesus Christ, this escalation. Inu, Sarutobi called. Immediately, the Anbu, needs to be capitalized, wearing the dog mask, appeared before the Kage. Get Snake and Bear to help you gather up Danzo's subordinates and remove any brainwashing Danzo put them through. Whoa! You don't just remove brainwashing. It's not like a bing bang boom, you're done, you're not brainwashed anymore. It's not how that works.
I mean, maybe if it was a jutsu-induced brainwashing, but, you know, he was a little too careful for that.
Yeah, he was a bit excessive. He wouldn't trust a jutsu to be the undoing. Hi, Hokage-sama, Inu said before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Once they were gone, the Hokage walked up to the picture of Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash and 4th Hokage of Konoha, and pushed the picture aside, revealing a safe hidden behind the portrait. Opening the safe, Sarutobi opened it.
Opening the safe, Sarutobi opened it. Is there a safe inside a safe?
You also don't gather all of Root with only 3 Anbu. Yes, this is true. And put the note and the ring inside before slamming it shut and putting the picture back in its proper place.
Also,
not to be disturbed for another 12 years.
I want to point out, if this Danzo is so rebellious that he just, you know, out and out tells the old man to go to hell, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't just let himself stand there and get stabbed.
Yeah. But you see, he was Deus Ex Machina ranting, and you can't, you see, you can't attack a villain when he's ranting, but Sarutobi did it anyway. Meanwhile, on the continent of Kalimdor, Thrall was riding his trusty steed back to Orgrimmar. Pretty sure Thrall rides a wolf, not a horse,
Yeah.
which is a steed.
Or you say, he rides an angry wolf.
Capital of the orcs. After years spent rebuilding the balance between the elements.
It's not just the capital of the orcs.
Between the elements with the earthen ring, he was ready to return home. Standing at the gates was none other than Garrosh Hellscream, the acting war chief in his absence.
Yes,
Hail!
Why can't Thrall just come back and fix things already? Like, can we please get Thrall back on the job?
Well, you see, plot reasons, we gotta stretch out the drama for 3 more expansion packs. Hail, mighty horde, for our true war chief has returned. Right, because Garrosh would say that. Garrosh bellowed out, slapping a closed fist over his chest in a warrior's salute. With the masses...
No, Garrosh would be immediately challenging him for control of the horde.
Yep, and
like,
talking about how weak
right
Thrall
now.
was and how great the horde is now that he's in control of it and blah blah blah.
In fact, he may not even wait to issue a formal challenge. He might say, the war chief has returned. Off comes the axe. Off comes Thrall's head. Or,
I mean,
so
we'll
Garrosh
try
would
at
like.
least, yeah. With
I'm not
that,
saying
the
he'd
masses let
succeed.
out a loud cheer of excitement. Smiling, Thrall waved, and you're missing commas there, waved at the crowd with a smile. You already said smile. Showing his teeth, and he jumped off his steed and shook hands with the leaders of the Troll, Tarn, and Goblins. However, he noticed that Sylvanas and her Forsaken were missing from the congregation, as well as the Blood Elves. It was at this point Thrall let out a confused look across his face. Wait, what? At this point, Thrall let a confused look cross his features before turning to Garrosh. That's awkward. Where is the Forsaken? Thrall asked in confusion. Where are the Blood Elves? The abominations that called themselves the Forsaken have been killed off, Great War Chief, Garrosh answered with pride. The Blood Elves withdrew shortly afterwards, out of some misguided notion that the freaks could be saved. Okay. Thrall didn't let it show, but he was seething in rage and began contemplating numerous ways to kill Garrosh without being implicated. Okay, Thrall would not hold back, okay?
I was gonna say, first of all, Thrall would not restrain himself at this juncture. Thrall would unleash the Doomhammer on
No,
his
yeah, I was
face.
about to say that. Actually, last I remembered, when Thrall wanted to confront something over something stupid they did, he threw an electrically charged Doomhammer into their face and screamed
said,
his lungs
"Stop
off
being
at them.
stupid."
Yeah, he is very much not a subtle person when it comes to confronting someone over something he considers to be dumb. Anyway, he had known Sylvanas during the Second War and had fought beside her during the Burning Crusade when the demons from the Draenei and the Orcs' homeworld had sought to invade Azeroth. I want Sylvanas found, Thrall commanded, his voice holding no room for argument. I want her brought before me, and I want Garrosh Hellscream locked up. Also wouldn't say that. Needless to say, Garrosh looked shocked, but once he felt a Tarn and it's an orc. The N is very important there. Grabbed his wrist, he snapped out of it and lived up to the name Hellscream by letting out a scream that had all in attendance holding their ears.
Okay, that's super awkward wording. Also, he wouldn't freeze.
Yeah.
Garrosh would go, "Ah, good, finally, the provocation I needed." He wouldn't say that, he would think that, and then he'd start trying to murder people.
You know, he would shout out something like, "Oh, you traitor, you side with the abominations over the Horde," or something.
Well, yeah, I'm saying he wouldn't say it as you know, genteelly as I did, but yeah, it would be something along the lines of, "You would dare betray the Horde, come, true warriors of the Horde,
Yeah.
Kill this man.
Yeah, basically. Female Garrosh. A lot of people have the same name. Yeah. With everyone still somewhat incapacitated, Garrosh ran through the congregation only to be met with a mighty hammer blow to the face. Garrosh Hellscream! From what I have seen here, it would appear that the Horde has suffered underneath your rule, Thrall said, raising the Doomhammer above his head. Thrall brought it down in one mighty blow, killing Garrosh and ending the Orc's worthless life.
What?
What?
What? What?
What? What the hell is with this escalation? Holy fucking Christ! Oh god. War Chief Thrall Vol'jin, leader of the Darkspear tribe, shouted. Actually, technically he's leader of the trolls. Where should we begin our search for the Banshee Queen? The last place she was spotted when this scum had her hunted, Thrall answered before spitting on the corpse of Garrosh Hellscream. He wouldn't do that. Once that was done, he noticed someone in a wide-brimmed wicker ha and red robes with light red lining walk up to him with his head bowed. Thrall, the figure said, slowly revealing his face to show it had white fur with 2 black circles around his eyes. I am G. Firepaws.
I think I dropped everybody's reaction in the chat there.
Oh, good. I am G. Firepaws of Pandaria, and I wish to discuss the possibility of an alliance. It's an alliance again with you.
No.
So this is the start of Pandaria. That's So we already got timelines being mushed up. We got really out of character characters. Very slow update rate. Evidence of very, very poor research actually being done on Sylvanas, all things considered. Yes, the Anal Alliance. You've heard correctly, Devil Spidey. Nailed it.
That explains how Jaina got everyone to work with her.
Indeed. Isn't Deadly Alliance good enough? So honestly, it could have been a good idea. Yeah, it could have. Was it executed in any fashion that no.
No.
It was not executed well. The characters, as we said, were very out of character. The grammar was
fine.
The grammar was okay, missing commas here and there, run-on sentences is a bit. The descriptors were used too often or repeated in the same sentence. Spelling was actually fine. There's no problems with spelling going on. But yeah, just very, very. I think honestly, the worst problem was the very out of character. Everyone was not quite doing what they normally do. But like I said before, Sarutobi can interpret it in multiple ways, and that was. I've seen worse, but.
Quit trying to get me to watch, quit trying to get me to buy StarCraft Remastered, Blizzard. It's not happening.
Do I want, what would I rate this fic as? Okay, well, if we're going to be using as a basis for today, I would rate the first fic as 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. Zeke's was right when it came to it was a bit slow for an intro chapter, and it would lose most people's interest. But other than that, it was quality writing. This one... I would give it a 6 out of 10. It could have been a good idea. Yeah, it could have been a good idea. The spelling was correct.
Here's the thing. I have to put this far lower. I have to give this like a 4 or a 5 out of 10 because I'm sorry, but no one is acting the way they're supposed to. I could forgive I could forgive Sarutobi being out of character. I could forgive Thrall being out of character. I cannot forgive Sylvanas being so completely out of character. Because, you know what? Maybe Sarutobi's not going to be important. Maybe Thrall's not going to be important. Although that doesn't seem likely.
I mean, I gave it such a high ranking because of its potential. It has the potential to be a good story, which is why I don't want to rank it lower, but at the same time, it does lose a lot of it. it's a tentative 6, I would say.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to say, like, I'd give this like a 5 because unfortunately, so many people were just so wildly out of character.
No, the out of character does play pretty heavily into it, but as it is, without its potential rating, I would give it a 4 maybe, because it was very much out of.
They still retain points for an interesting idea, good spelling, good grammar, for the most part.
Yeah. But yeah, that is exactly the point that I have tried to make before, in that you shouldn't write stories, you shouldn't take challenges that you don't know thoroughly. It shows. It shows very much. It shows especially to people who know the work better than you. But you know. Again, I just know Naruto really well, and I know World of Warcraft very well, and I know the Warcraft lore in general very well. And
I can tell you that this is not Sylvanas in any capacity. You know, for
I can't wait for the Sasuke Witch King team up. Indeed.
You know what? That might be interesting. At least then we won't have to deal with Sasuke being whiny and full of emotions. Yeah, he can't be angsty about his brother if the Lich King takes away all of his emotions, right?
Forsaken Arcana with merits abominable action. Garrus seems a good thing for once. Forsaken on the different from Scourge. By the way, mobs after Naruto makes 0 sense. Yeah, this is the exact point we made. Mobs after Naruto makes 0 sense. People are allowed to hate the village's weapons of mass destruction, but if they touch the village's weapon of mass destruction, that would not only be treason, yeah, it would be stupid. You don't punch a nuke because you dislike nukes. I feel like I should disagree with this statement, but I can't. The Sasuke mastering Orochimaru's mind, transferring and jumping into the Lich King to produce one bitching emo Lich King. Seems a bit rushed. Yeah, no, that is, yeah, that's what we were saying. You can tell when someone isn't fully invested in it. And I would say by the fact that... No, it is very much investment in it. Because you can tell they're being spread out. You can tell they don't know the work as well as someone, you know, maybe who's played Warcraft for like 8 years and, you know, watched all of Naruto.
Because the person...
Yeah, they're... Holy shit, they are spread out.
The author has openly admitted...
Yeah, I know, they openly admitted it. It's just...
The author's like, look, I don't know anything about Sylvanas. And the fact of the matter is, I'm sorry, but that shows. Because you're Sylvanas... This is not the Dark Lady of the Forsaken. For crying out loud, her name is the Dark Lady of the Forsaken. She's not a good person. She never has been.
Yeah.
Caveat, since she died.
Yeah. But yeah, to wrap it all up, not much else to say. Hope you all enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed doing it. As always, my recommendation list can be found in my Twitch channel's panels below. For good fix, either check out my profile page and look at my favorites, or I even have a pre-made list of fics I recommend the most. I have a link to that in the panels below. If you are watching this on Twitch and want to see the rest of our podcasts, we have it all archived on YouTube in the clicking on the panel down below, which will lead you to the YouTube page, which has the playlist on it that is automatically updating with each podcast. If you want to catch us live, you can either check us out on YouTube at 2 Idiots and Suthner, or here at True Sneaky Devil on Twitch. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays and Fridays. Anything else I'm missing?
I don't think so.
About it. No, I think that's about it. Alright, so we will see you guys all Tuesday, or you can check me out when I play, Warhammer and Dota and other random games that I suck at, and stream them on Twitch. We actually have a Discord now, so if you head on down to the Discord link below, it's the picture, or you can click the link in the panels below, in the Twitch panels below. Yeah, you can join us on Discord, I guess, and we'll say words to you. Ciao.
See ya.